Kevin Garnett, he's not just intense, he's off the charts. This guy headbutted a wall at home, yelling at himself to fight, and left a hole in the wall before a game. That's not pre-game prep, that's a full-on battle cry. He didn't just trash talk, he launched verbal missiles. He called himself a dragon and turned games into emotional war zones. At 19, he went after Michael Jordan with his mouth, only to sit back down, apologizing to his own bench. Talk about poking the wrong bear. He'd swat down shots after the whistle just to mess with your rhythm. No points involved, just chaos. And when asked about Chris Webber, he said, "Because we both crazy." That's not exactly a denial. When opponents were too athletic, he responded with outlandish, wildly personal reactions that made everyone uncomfortable. He even clashed with coaches, telling Tom Tibbs he'd never be a head coach, right to his face. He carried that energy off the court too, snapping at Paul Pierce's antics during live streams like they were in the middle of a playoff series. His rookie years, wild, raw talent paired with no filter, no breaks, and a whole lot of fire. Garnett wasn't pretending. He lived in that storm. Kobe Bryant. He elbowed Manu in the face, got suspended, came back, and immediately elbowed Marco Jarrett. That got him suspended again. Then, first game back, boom, elbowed Kyle Korver and picked up another flagrant. This wasn't clumsy. It was controlled raid. Phil Jackson said Kobe forced the action, even when things weren't going well. Pounding away until something gave. Kobe admitted he'd rather miss 30 shots than stop attacking. He once noticed a rim was a quarter-inch low. A quarter-inch. Who even checks that? His workouts, midnight gym sessions, naps, then back by sunrise. Sugar, gone. Every minute of rest, diet, film study, perfect. Perlman's book painted young Kobe as mean, cold, and impossible to coach. Jackson said he rebelled against authority with real anger. That Shaq feud, according to one player, Shaq nearly lost it during a playoff run. Kobe skipped team dinners, didn't hang out, refused bonding like it was a waste of time. In the 81-point game, he once told teammates he'd score like that when it actually mattered. Then he made a $5,000 bet he'd get a triple-double by halftime. He nearly did. Nobody outworked him. Nobody out-obsessed him. Ron Artest. The malice at the palace turned him into a headline. He fouled Ben Wallace. Wallace shoved back, and Artest just laid down on the scorer's table like it was nap time. Then a fan hit him with a drink, and he charged into the stands, unleashing one of the wildest brawls in league history. That earned him an 86-game suspension and cost him nearly $5 million. But the chaos didn't stop there. He once smashed a TV camera at Madison Square Garden, confronted Pat Riley, and made obscene gestures to fans. In 2012, now going by Meta World Peace, he elbowed James Harden in the head while celebrating. Harden left with concussion symptoms, and Artest picked up another suspension. Kobe once called him a psychopath in admiration, meant as a compliment to his fearless, aggressive presence. Artest had legal issues too, including jail time and league suspensions tied to off-court incidents. He destroyed microphones, threw bottles, and forced arenas to rethink what fans could touch. Therapy started for him at 13, and he later opened up about mental health struggles, even changing his name to promote peace. Wild past, complicated legacy, undeniable intensity. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Dennis Rodman. He headbutted a referee in '96 and got suspended 6 games with a $20,000 fine. Then he kicked a cameraman in the groin the next year and had to pay $200,000 while sitting 11 games. This guy lived in the penalty box. He got ejected so often it felt like part of his warm-up. Off the court, he once wore a full wedding dress to promote his book and claimed to marry himself. That was actually one of his calmer days. He dyed his hair every other week, got tattoos and piercings that clashed hard with the league's clean-cut image, and randomly ditched the Bulls during the finals to go wrestle with Hulk Hogan. Michael Jordan had to drag him back. Behind the theatrics was real turmoil. In 1993, Rodman nearly ended it all before deciding to reinvent himself. He went through multiple rehab stints for alcohol and had constant run-ins with the law, drunk driving, domestic incidents, and even a hit and run. He's been sued for workplace outbursts, allegedly slamming a door on an assistant's hand. And yes, he sang happy birthday to a dictator. That wasn't a joke. Rodman didn't follow the rules. He tore them up. Matt Barnes. Kevin Garnett said Barnes started quiet, but turned into a force that even shook veterans. Once he flipped the switch, he brought non-stop fire. He got suspended after fighting Rafer Alston in a Suns-Rockets game, and that was just one of many brawls. He later got suspended again for showing up at Derek Fisher's house and confronting him during a messy personal situation. It got so popular, Ye mentioned in his song 30 Hours. Then he publicly defended it by saying violence is sometimes the answer. He wasn't done. He picked up fines for not leaving the court, for kicking a water bottle, and for cursing at a fan. He even got fined $50,000 for insulting James Harden's mom during a playoff game. Yes, really. Barnes himself admitted the NBA punishes the first punch more than the second, so he always played like he was ready to throw the second one. He once got into it with a student announcer at his son's high school game and lost a broadcasting job. On his podcast, he leans all the way into that tough guy image and mentors current players on intensity. Whether on the court, at home, or in the studio, Barnes lives confrontational. He's not just fiery, he's relentless. Draymond Green. He punched Jordan Poole in the face during practice, and the video lit up the internet. The Warriors fined him, but the damage to team chemistry stuck. Then came the headlock on Rudy Gobert during a scuffle, 5-game suspension. After that, he smacked Yusuf Nurkic in the face and got tossed with a flagrant 2. The league suspended him indefinitely. Next, a neck grab on Patty Mills that somehow didn't even earn a flagrant, but people noticed. By March 2024, he had 21 career ejections, most among active players. He racked up 16 techs in the 22-23 season and missed a game. And in the 25 playoffs, he led with 5 technicals and 2 flagrants, just 8.5 games in. After his 5th tech, he claimed there was a media agenda to paint him as angry, which only triggered more backlash. ESPN analysts called him a circus and crazy. The reputation is real. He missed Game 7 of the 2016 finals over a flagrant, and the Warriors lost. Coach Kerr later blamed the Poole incident for the team falling apart. Green owns it. He breaks huddles, and sometimes teams. Deshaun Stevenson. In 2003, he shoved Ricky Davis after Davis tried to pad his triple-double with a cheap miss. No hesitation, just immediate retaliation. Then in 2005, Stevenson kicked a loose ball into the crowd after a loss and got slapped with a $7,500 fine. He didn't just play defense, he got in your face. During the 2008 playoffs, he mocked LeBron James with face guards and even called him overrated. After Dallas beat Miami in 2011, he wore a shirt that said, "Hey LeBron, how's my Dirk taste?" straight up taunting him post-title. Then 2 days later, he got arrested for public intoxication in Texas, found wandering around a complex and labeled a danger to himself. His past? Rough. His father murdered his own mother, then died in prison. Trauma that shaped a lot of Stevenson's unpredictability. In 2002, he pleaded no contest in a serious legal case and was sentenced to probation. On Twitter, he clashed with Darren Williams, turning a teammate beef into a public spectacle. Coaches respected his fire, but fans said it best. He brought the right kind of crazy every team wants, even if it burned hot. Morris twins. Markieff fired things up in 2021 with a nasty foul on Nikola Jokic that gave him whiplash. He got fined $50,000, and Jokic shoved him from behind. Marcus jumped in online, tweeting, "Waited till bro turned his back." Noted, it got heated fast. That wasn't their first rodeo. In Phoenix, Markieff demanded a trade in 2015 and was fined $10,000 for it. He threw a towel at coach Jeff Hornacek and got suspended 2 games. Then he fought his own teammate, Archie Goodwin, during a timeout. Around the same time, both brothers were charged in an aggravated assault case. They were later acquitted, but the trial lasted 2 years and hung over their careers. Marcus took things up a notch when he smashed the ball into Justin Anderson's head for playing defense. No basketball play, just straight up frustration. Add in technicals, public tantrums, and constant clashes with coaches, and they built a joint reputation for chaos. Markieff even challenged Jokic's brothers, who trained in mixed martial arts, to a boxing match. Between the fights, fines, and feuds, the Morris twins didn't just play tough, they thrived on confrontation. DeMarcus Cousins. In his prime, he led the league in technicals like it was a stat category. Punching Patrick Beverley in the stomach? Yep, that happened in 2014. He got suspended 1 game. He clashed with teammates, barked at coaches, and even got suspended for going after Spurs commentator Sean Elliott. That was 2 games just for confronting a broadcaster. He was fined for gestures, suspended by the Kings in 2012 for conduct detrimental, and regularly exploded at refs, once sarcastically clapping in their faces after a call. But his most recent blow-up, Puerto Rico, June 2025. Cousins got into it with a courtside fan, grabbed the guy's crutch, made obscene gestures, then lunged at him. He had to be held back. As he left, fans threw food and drinks. He tried to charge back. Security stopped him, but it was too late. The league suspended him, fined him $4,250, and his team dropped him. One ugly scene echoed his whole career. From locker room fights to playoff ejections, Cousins had the talent, but the emotions never stayed in check. For every bucket, there was a blow-up. The volatility never left the court. Vernon Maxwell. In February 1995, he sprinted up into the Portland crowd and punched a fan in the face. Not bumped into, punched. That earned him a 10-game suspension and a $20,000 fine, the largest at the time. That single moment branded him for life. His teammate Hakeem later said Maxwell just reacts too much and always regrets it later. He wasn't exaggerating. A Washington Post story labeled him a volatile mix of fire and ice and tracked $49,000 in fines from 91 to 95. In one locker room meltdown, Maxwell hissed and spit in frustration. When Hakeem confronted him, Maxwell snapped back, so Hakeem slapped him hard, and somehow that didn't end in a full brawl. Off the court, he was just as unpredictable. Between 1992 and 94, he racked up assault charges, a gun possession conviction, and a wave of civil issues. During his Seattle days, he tried to break up a fight between Gary Payton and Horace Grant, only to accidentally injure Grant with a weight. Mad Max didn't just earn the nickname, he lived it. Chaos in sneakers, and every team felt it. Joakim Noah. As a rookie in 2008, he clashed with coaches, showed up late, and even got into it with Ben Wallace. His teammates voted to suspend him for 2 games. That's how strong the vibes were. Then came the ejections. In 2014, he got tossed from a game against Sacramento after screaming at refs and cursing on his way out. That tantrum cost him $15,000. The year before, in a playoff game, he shoved Chris Anderson after a collision. Another technical, another flare-up. In 2011, he apologized for using a homophobic slur toward a fan during a heated moment, and in New York, the chaos went full throttle. He later admitted he partied too much, bragging about hosting 60 people at his place after games and saying he was too lit to play there. He got suspended 20 games in 2017 for taking a banned substance. His off-court record includes a marijuana possession arrest, reckless driving, and a suspended license, all in one Florida traffic stop. Noah was loud, intense, unapologetic, and totally unpredictable. Teammates respected the energy, but it came with fire alarms. He didn't simmer, he boiled over. Michael Beasley. In 2009, he checked into rehab after posting a photo with what looked like weed and later admitted he needed counseling for stress. That was just the beginning. In 2011, he got pulled over in Minnesota, speeding, and cops smelled marijuana. A bag was found, but he blamed a friend. Same year, he shoved a heckler in the face during a street ball game in New York. Then in 2013, Phoenix cut him after he got arrested again for weed possession. The league hit him with a 5-game suspension in 2019 for violating the drug policy. And in February 2025, arrested in Manhattan airport trying to fly with 6 grams on him. That's not all. He once screamed raunchy stuff during a one-on-one game with Lance Stevenson, then followed it up by posting a bizarre message about Kim Kardashian online. He's also shared that his CPA stole his money and that his partying, judgment, and stress wrecked his focus. Executives once said he was surrounded by chaos, cars, women, guns, and bad decisions. Beasley had talent, no question, but the self-destruction? That stayed louder than the points he scored. Steven Jackson. He ran into the stands during the Malice at the Palace, punched a fan in the face, got suspended 30 games, fined, and put on probation. That alone cost him nearly $1.7 million. 2 years later, outside a strip club, he got hit by a car, then pulled out a 9mm and fired shots. Prosecutors said he fired first. He pleaded guilty to felony recklessness and got probation and community service. On the court, still boiling. He racked up technicals, threatened Serge Ibaka on Twitter, and got fined $25,000. And that was just social media. He once admitted to choking Steve Francis during an argument. When he wasn't fighting teammates, he was blasting them after games. In the Big Three League, he publicly slammed his own squad after a loss. His emotional blow-ups weren't limited to the court. He stirred chaos in locker rooms across multiple teams. After the brawl in Detroit, players feared arrest, and Jackson later apologized to Reggie Miller for bringing mayhem. Whether it was gunfire, fights, or tweets, Jackson kept the same energy, volatile, confrontational, and ready to explode at any moment. Every franchise got the full experience. Gilbert Arenas. In December 2009, he brought multiple unloaded guns into the Wizards' locker room after a gambling argument with teammate Javaris Crittenton. He placed them on Crittenton's chair with a note that read, "Pick one." Crittenton responded by pulling out a loaded gun, and teammates bolted. Days later, Arenas pretended to shoot teammates with finger guns during a pre-game huddle while still under investigation. That stunt pushed Commissioner David Stern to suspend him indefinitely, declaring he was not fit to take the court. Arenas pled guilty to carrying an unlicensed firearm and served 30 days in a halfway house, got probation, 400 hours of community service, and a $5,000 fine. He lost more than $7 million in salary and never returned to form. The Magic eventually amnestied him, and he fizzled out after a short stint in Memphis. Known as a prankster, Arenas constantly walked the line. But this time, it wasn't a joke. Prosecutors said witnesses were genuinely afraid. His reputation shifted from superstar to cautionary tale. Talent never left, but discipline and impulse control did. That locker room moment didn't just stain his career, it torched the whole second half of it. Rasheed Wallace. In the 2000 to 2001 season, he racked up 41 technical fouls in just 80 games, a number so outrageous it forced the league to tweak its rules. He holds the all-time NBA record for ejections with 29 and finished his career with 317 technicals, trailing only 2 other players in history. He once threatened referee Tim Donaghy after a game, earning a 7-game suspension, the longest ever for a non-violent act at the time. In the 2008 playoffs, he exploded on the refs again, this time with an expletive-filled rant after Game 5. Wallace wasn't just heated, he was volcanic. During his Portland days, he was a face of the Jailblazers, a team notorious for chaos and off-court baggage. His catchphrase, "Ball, don't lie," became legend, but also got him more texts because of how loud and animated he'd yell it. At one point, he was averaging a technical every 3rd game. Even after retirement, he owned his image, calling out players like Draymond Green for following in his footsteps. Wallace didn't just lose his temper, he weaponized it, and in doing so, he became one of the most combustible forces the league ever saw. Charles Oakley. In February 2017, he got into it at Madison Square Garden during a Knicks-Clippers game. Security tried to remove him for allegedly yelling at owner James Dolan, and Oakley shoved a guard in the face. The result? 3 assault charges and 1 trespass charge. The Knicks called his behavior completely abusive. Oakley later admitted he shouldn't have put his hands on anyone, but still denied most of the team's claims. The fallout turned legal fast. He launched a long-running lawsuit against MSG and Dolan, accusing them of using excessive force and damaging his reputation. In 2025, a federal judge sanctioned Oakley for deleting years of texts tied to the case, calling his excuses not credible. Meanwhile, MSG's lawyers accused his legal team of editing his draft autobiography to boost their side. As a player, Oakley was one of the NBA's most feared enforcers, always physical, always confrontational. He once said he played the way he grew up, ready for a fight. That intensity never left. Even in retirement, he's still charging forward, still loud, and still not backing down. For better or worse, Oakley made volatility part of his identity. Zach Randolph. In 2003, he punched teammate Ruben Patterson during practice and fractured his orbital bone. That earned him a suspension and a reputation. Randolph later described the fight like it was pro wrestling. Patterson slammed him around the locker room, and teammates had to break it up. A year later, he punched Raja Bell in a game and got suspended again. In 2009, he cracked Louis Amundsen in the jaw. Another ejection, another suspension. Then in 2015, he elbowed DeMarcus Cousins twice in the face during a heated Grizzlies-Kings clash. Randolph had no problem mixing it up off the court either. As a teen, he did time in juvenile detention for battery and selling a stolen gun. Later, he was arrested for underage drinking. Then in 2017, got arrested again at a wild Los Angeles gathering. Marijuana, loud music, damage to police vehicles. Bail was $20,000. He fought Kendrick Perkins in a hallway and collected texts like they were rebound. Early in his career, he was a core member of the Jailblazers, talent with turbulence. Randolph was skilled, but always one hard foul away from total combustion. Patrick Beverley. This guy's built a reputation that lives somewhere between relentless and unhinged. Just ask anyone who watched that Game 6 meltdown in May 2024. He chucked a ball into the crowd twice. The first one nailed a woman in the head. Then he threw it even harder back toward Pacers fans. The league didn't mess around. 4 games gone without pay. And not just for the fan drama, he got hit for pushing away a reporter's mic while demanding she subscribe to his podcast. Real smooth. The NBA cited that inappropriate interaction in the suspension. This isn't new. Back in 2021, he shoved Chris Paul from behind in the Western Finals and got 1 game off for it. The next year, while with the Lakers, he blindsided DeAndre Ayton and earned a 3-game sit. Then there's the whole collection of fines, ejections, and defense texts for taunting refs, waving props around, and just generally going full chaos mode. After the Pacers incident, the media lit him up. Barkley called it out. ESPN slammed him. Rumors of a ban popped up. Even Doc Rivers said it crossed the line. That pattern's hard to ignore. Kenyon Martin. If you followed the league when he played, You know his name always came with baggage. He picked up multiple suspensions early in his career for reckless flagrant fouls, and he racked up enough flagrant points in one season to keep sitting out. 12 career ejections put him right next to some wild company, Dennis Rodman and Reggie Miller. That alone says a lot. He also totaled over 2,400 personal fouls, which puts him in the top 230 all time. That's a whole lot of bumping and banging. The media didn't hold back either. Analysts openly called him dirty, not just physical. His fouls weren't just hard, they were dangerous. Even teammates weren't safe. While with the Nets, he taunted Alonzo Mourning about his kidney problems during a heated exchange. That went over about as well as you'd expect. He apologized later, but the damage was done. He also had a playoff meltdown in 2006, refusing to play the second half and getting suspended for it. Then there was the $15,000 fine for going at fans during a game, with his entourage getting involved. That entire package, Volatile doesn't even begin to cover it. J.R. Smith. Few players have delivered that kind of chaos with that much raw talent. Back in 2006, he got a 10-game suspension after charging Marty Collins during a wild Knicks and Nuggets brawl. Every player on the court got tossed. Then there's the soup store. In 2018, he threw a bowl of it at assistant coach Damon Jones. He missed a game for that one. Not even food was safe around this guy. And who could forget the shoelace thing? With the Knicks, he made it a weird routine to untie opponents' shoes mid-game. It happened more than once, and the league hit him with a $50,000 fine. You'd think he'd stop, but no. Then came the infamous moment in the 2018 finals. He grabbed a rebound, dribbled out the clock thinking Cleveland was up, only to realize it was tied. Total meltdown. His entire career was full of highs, and then bizarre moments like that. Reporters constantly described him as impulsive and inconsistent. Even off the court, he spoke about feeling lost and battling depression. That blend of unpredictability and raw skill made him impossible to ignore. For better or worse, Bill Laimbeer. You can't talk about the bad boys without bringing up the face of it all. He helped the Pistons win back-to-back titles in 1989 and 1990, but his legacy's more bruises than banners. He was constantly dishing out sneaky, bone-jarring fouls and knew exactly how to irritate players without always getting caught. Refs weren't fooled forever, though. He ranked in the top 30 for personal fouls and piled up technicals like trophies. Ejections? Constant. In one 1988 game, he got tossed after jawing with Jack Sigma, then just laughed it off like it was recess. Opponents didn't laugh. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen made no secret about hating him. Elbows, cheap shots, and under-the-rim fights weren't accidents. They were tools. Laimbeer even admitted he used intimidation as strategy, scowling, shoving, baiting guys into retaliation. It was all part of the plan. He scuffled with Patrick Ewing, Sidney Moncrief, and probably anyone standing upright. But here's the thing. He leaned into the villain role. He didn't just play tough. He made it his entire identity. That kind of antagonistic energy doesn't fade. It defines a whole era. Daryl Dawkins. Nobody broke the game quite like him. Literally, in 1979, he shattered 2 backboards in separate games. One in Kansas City and another in Philly. The league had to change the rules and bring in breakaway rims. And he didn't just dunk, he performed. His dunks had names like Chocolate Thunder, Teeth Shaking, and Glassbreaker I Am Jam. Try saying that with a straight face. He set an NBA record with 386 fouls in the 1983-84 season. That's not just aggressive, it's borderline reckless. His defense looked more like indoor demolition. And in the 1977 finals, after getting into it on the bench, he stormed into the locker room, ripped out a toilet, and yanked a stall door off the hinges to barricade himself in. Subtlety wasn't in his vocabulary. Then there's Planet Lovetron. That's where he said he lived in the off-season with his imaginary partner Juicy Lucy. He described his style as interplanetary funkmanship. His teammates were never sure if he was serious or just messing with everyone. The league had never seen anything like him. A blend of brute force, comic book energy, and pure unpredictability. Derek Coleman. The guy had all-star talent and all the chaos to match. In 2002, he punched Karl Malone during a game and got suspended 1 game with a $7,500 fine. Same year, he grabbed Reggie Miller by the throat, threw a punch, and earned a 2-game suspension plus $12,500 in fines. That alone paints a picture, but he kept going. In 2004, he left the bench during the infamous Pacers and Pistons brawl. The league gave him 1 game off for that chaos cameo. And off the court, wild. Coleman racked up around 7 arrests during his career. Everything from public disturbance to assault and DUI. He even got arrested in 1997 for urinating in public. Not exactly blending in. Back in college, he pleaded guilty to harassment after a fight broke out during a break-in incident. Then there were all the skipped practices, arguments with coaches, and flat-out refusal to check into games. Reporters said he played just hard enough to collect a check. Alcohol abuse was also cited as a reason for his decline. Coleman wasn't just unpredictable, he built a career on it. Chris Childs, the name alone, still gets brought up when people talk about that swing at Kobe Bryant. It was April of 2000, nationally televised, and there he was, popping Kobe in the face during the third quarter. The league said Childs started it, suspended him for 2 games, and fined him $15,000. Kobe only got 1 game. He later said Childs threw the punch and ran. That pretty much set the tone for how people remember Childs. Fiery and unapologetic. He made his name as a physical, no-nonsense guard who went at stars without blinking. He even called Michael Jordan one of the dirtiest players in the game. Imagine saying that out loud and meaning it. Childs didn't care who you were. He demanded respect and let his defense do the talking, or occasionally the punching. Before all that, though, he nearly lost it all. In the mid-90s, he battled alcohol addiction and had to go through rehab. He called that date his second birthday. The league might not have seen a long suspension record from him, but his attitude always burned hot. He played like he was proving something, because he was. Anthony Mason. The guy didn't play basketball. He waged psychological warfare in a jersey. He racked up 192 career technical fouls, landing him in the league's top 10 all time. And it wasn't just whistles. He was throwing forearms, delivering elbows, and staring through people like he was trying to melt them. Pat Riley even suspended him multiple times for what he called conduct detrimental to the team. Translation: Mason was too much even for the 90s Knicks. In December 2006, Mason threw a punch at Marty Collins during a full-blown sideline brawl against the Nuggets. The league dropped a 10-game suspension and took a chunk out of his paycheck. That was just the kind of intensity Mason brought every night. He went toe-to-toe with Hakeem, brawled through Pistons matchups, and never once backed down. He said he played angry, and you could tell. From his overseas beginnings to his street ball reputation, he played like the game owed him something. That earned him the nickname The Enforcer, and he lived up to it. Trash talk, scowls, and bruises followed him everywhere. Mason didn't ask for respect. He took it, every single possession. Stephon Marbury, one of the most gifted point guards of his era, and one of the most unpredictable. During his time with the Knicks, he went full chaos mode. He clashed with Larry Brown and Thomas, causing constant dysfunction. Reports said he even threatened to leak dirt on Thomas when his role got threatened. New York media didn't hold back, calling him the most reviled athlete in the city. Then came July 2009. Marbury launched a 24-hour live stream where he cried, rambled, and ate Vaseline on camera. He said grief pushed him there. He'd lost his father, aunt, and childhood coach, but the reaction was brutal. People thought he'd lost it. That same year, the Celtics offered him $1,300,000 to keep playing. He turned it down and called it disappointing. Most guys would have jumped at it. He walked away. In China, his journey kept zigzagging. He left the Shaanxi team mid-season after getting benched. He didn't just leave the NBA, he left stability. His emotional swings, media feuds, and erratic choices followed him everywhere. Opponents like Allen Iverson respected his game, but knew he was a handful. Marbury didn't just play with intensity, he lived in it. Bruce Bowen. He made defense into an art form, and also into a controversy magnet. Opponents like Vince Carter and Steve Francis accused him of sticking his foot under them mid-air, causing ankle injuries. The league even changed its rules to classify that move as a shooting foul. Bowen didn't just crowd space, he erased it. And he once straight up admitted he tried to hurt Ray Allen. That's not just tough defense. That's a strategy with malice baked in. The league noticed. He kicked Wally Szczerbiak in the face and got fined $7,500. Then kicked Ray Allen in the back and got hit with $10,000 more in a suspension. 2 years later, same story. He kicked Chris Paul and was suspended again. This wasn't one-time heat-of-the-moment stuff. It was a pattern. Players like Stat and multiple analysts openly called him dirty. Bowen still got 8 straight all-defensive team honors, which just fueled the divide. Was he elite or just out of control? Reddit fans even labeled him the dirtiest defender ever. Bowen didn't mind. He locked up stars, forced ejections, and flirted with injury zones like it was part of the job description. Lance Stevenson. Nobody blends talent, unpredictability, and pure chaos like this guy. In the 2014 playoffs, he straight up blew in LeBron's ear during Game 5. Yeah, just leaned in and puffed air into the side of his face. Lance later admitted he was about to go crazy on him. Roy Hibbert summed it up best. Lance, he does stuff. Nobody ever knew what was coming, but it wasn't all harmless antics. Back in high school, he got arrested for groping a 17-year-old and suspended for fighting a teammate. Then in 2010, he was charged with pushing the mother of his child down the stairs. The case got dropped, but it followed him into the league. Fast forward to 2025, Big Three debut. Lance and Dwight Howard ended up in a brawl so wild, it spilled into the crowd. Headlocks, chaos, ejections, the whole deal. And just recently, a fan mocked that old LeBron ear blow stunt in a nightclub. Lance said he was about to go crazy on him, then pulled back and called the guy nuts. From viral weirdness to violent flare-ups, Lance never dialed it down. He just played and lived on the edge. Sebastian Telfair, once hailed as the next big thing, he turned his career into a full-blown case study in derailment. In 2007, he got pulled over doing 77 in a 45 with a suspended license. Under the seat, a loaded .45 caliber handgun. He ended up with 3 years probation and a 3-game NBA suspension. That was just the start. Fast forward to 2017, Brooklyn police found him parked illegally with 3 loaded handguns, a semi-automatic rifle, a bulletproof vest, marijuana, and more ammo than a small militia. He got hit with a felony conviction and sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. That conviction was overturned in 2023, but the chaos didn't stop. In 2018, he allegedly destroyed a car in a rage during a domestic incident. His wife filed a restraining order, then came the health fraud mess. Between 2021 and 2023, Telfair was indicted for scamming the NBA's health plan and later sentenced to prison after violating probation. His basketball journey? One long detour, bouncing between teams, finishing in China. From Slam magazine stardom to a courtroom seat, Telfair's story is volatility in motion. Level 1, forgettable. The rivalry between Kobe Bryant and Brandon Roy was short, intense, and over before it could ever stretch into something iconic. From 2007 through 2010, they faced off just 13 times. That's it, 13. Not exactly a saga. In those games, Kobe averaged close to 30 points, while Roy sat around 15. Now, that doesn't mean Roy wasn't incredible. He was known for being a calm, cerebral scorer who could get a bucket from anywhere. But this rivalry never saw playoff action. That alone drops its long-term value. Kobe did once say Roy was the hardest player to guard in the West, which is high praise from a guy who's gone toe-to-toe with just about everyone. But still, a rivalry needs repetition. It needs weight. Roy's career got cut short due to injuries, and without those high-stakes battles in the postseason, this never had the legs to become something remembered by the casual fan. It had all the ingredients, just no time in the oven. Now, on to Deron Williams and Chris Paul. This one actually had some heat. They came into the league 2 picks apart in 2005, and for a good stretch, there was a real debate on who was better. They played 25 times, and Deron actually won 17 of those matchups. The numbers, nearly the same. Paul had a slight edge in points and assists, but it was razor thin. In the late 2000s, the debates were real. People picked sides, but again, the same issue shows up. No playoff meetings, no high-pressure moments that could have pushed this one to legendary status. As Paul's career climbed into All-NBA and All-Star territory year after year, Deron started fading out, mostly due to injuries and bouncing between teams that didn't really fit. The rivalry, like so many others, just didn't survive the long haul. It's hard to call it unforgettable when it essentially vanished after 2011. Then there's the Spurs and Suns. Look, these two definitely ran into each other a bunch in the playoffs, and anytime Tim Duncan and Steve Nash are sharing a court, it's going to be worth watching. But what they didn't have was a rivalry that captured the league. There wasn't that city versus city tension or any massive cultural impact. They didn't meet in the finals, and while the games mattered, they didn't leave behind the kind of stories fans are still bringing up every June. Duncan had the clear edge in the win column, both in the regular season and playoffs. Nash and the Suns just couldn't crack through that Spurs machine. The matchups were solid, the competition was real, but the legacy just didn't last. It ended up being a sequence of battles without the war. Then you've got Nets versus Raptors. This one flared up when Vince Carter left Toronto and landed with the Nets, and for a second, it looked like it might become something. They met in the playoffs in 2007 and again in 2014. Nets won both series, but beyond that, not much. Carter moved on. The Nets left New Jersey for Brooklyn, and the Raptors began building something else entirely. There was no bad blood, no memorable finals implications, no consistent pattern of clashes. It was a flicker. The kind of rivalry you only remember because someone reminds you it happened. Blake Griffin and Zach Randolph, though, now that's a forgotten gem. From 2012 through 2014, their teams met in back-to-back playoff series, and those games were pure chaos, physical, gritty, and borderline violent. Griffin had the edge in scoring and playmaking, but Randolph was all muscle and rebounding fury. They split the playoff series 1 each, and you never knew if someone was about to throw a sneaky elbow or get tangled up under the rim. It wasn't about finesse, it was about bruises. Despite all that intensity, it never turned into a superstar rival. There wasn't a flashy narrative, no media storm, just two guys grinding it out in games that were way more personal than public. That's why people forget it. And finally, the Jazz and Rockets. Back in the 1990s, they actually had some serious playoff tension. Stockton, Malone, Hakeem, Drexler, those were real names battling in real series. But once those guys retired or moved on, the whole thing collapsed. There was no carryover, no renewal, just a quick series of clashes locked in a specific era. They met in the playoffs several times, but the matchups didn't include final showdowns and didn't spark the kind of cultural storylines that give rivalries weight across generations. It peaked in the 90s and completely vanished after. So even though those games were legit, it just didn't last. Each of these had potential, big names, playoff tension, heated moments, but without longevity, without those consistent matchups, and stories that live in highlight, reels, and halftime debates, they faded. Not because they weren't good, but because they didn't stick. That's what makes them forgettable. Not bad, just unfinished. Level 2, location-based. The Knicks and Nets rivalry exists because both teams call New York home. That's the entire backbone. They've shared the Atlantic Division for decades and played over 200 regular season games, with the Knicks slightly ahead in total wins. But playoff meetings, just 3. Not exactly heated. And while the media loves calling it the Battle of the Boroughs, there's no real history of finals implications or legendary clash. It's a city turf thing, not a rivalry built on basketball milestones. Then you've got the Lakers and Clippers. Yes, they've shared the same building for years. And yes, the Clippers have made things competitive lately. But let's not pretend this is a rivalry based on anything deeper than zip code. The Lakers have more titles than the Clippers have conference finals appearances. Their head-to-head isn't close either. Lakers dominate the all-time series. No playoff battles, no major legacies clashing, just two teams sharing a city and fighting for attention. The Mavericks and Rockets are another classic example. Both teams are in Texas, and their matchups get framed as an in-state grudge, but they've only met in the playoffs 3 times, and the all-time record is about even. That's not nothing, but it's not what pushes a rivalry into legendary status. It's mainly about geography. The I-45 rivalry gets brought up a lot, but outside of state bragging rights, it's not stacked with iconic moments or championship weight. The Kings and Warriors, that one took decades just to get a playoff series. They're separated by less than 90 miles in Northern California, and that's always been the reason people label it a rivalry. They've met hundreds of times in the regular season, but until 2023, they'd never crossed paths in the playoff. Even now, there's no long-term feud or decade-spanning battle. It's proximity-driven hype more than anything else. Heat and Magic is basically Florida's contribution to location-based rivalries. 2 teams in the same state, occasionally decent at the same time, but very little actual heat. They've only met once in the playoffs, way back in 1997. Their head-to-head record in the regular season is tilted toward the Heat. Beyond that, not a whole lot. It's labeled the Sunshine State rivalry, but in reality, it's just Orlando and Miami happening to exist in the same state with very different basketball histories. Spurs versus Mavericks has a bit more substance, but geography still plays the biggest role. These teams have met multiple times in the playoffs, and there were some real battles in the early 2000s. But even with that, the driving force has always been Texas proximity. There wasn't a long-standing superstar feud or finals-level drama. It's one of the better location rivalries, sure, but it still fits this tier because the foundation is state lines, not NBA history. The Knicks and Sixers is another one that sounds big, but doesn't deliver in the rivalry department. Yes, they've played each other hundreds of times. Yes, they're in the same division, but the matchups haven't been iconic or filled with long playoff wars. It's a Northeast corridor clash built more on media market overlap than actual storyline. There's volume, but not much substance beyond where the arenas are located. Lastly, the Spurs and Rockets, another Texas matchup that gets the rivalry tag by default. They've had some playoff runs against each other and plenty of regular season meetings, but the real driver has always been geography. Spurs fans and Rockets fans don't like each other because they live in the same state, not because their teams keep eliminating each other in huge moments. It's more about who owns Texas than who owns the league. So yeah, all these matchups come from a map, not a movie script. There's history, but it's mostly geographic, not dramatic. They exist because teams are near each other, not because their stories are intertwined. Level 3, player-driven. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird didn't just face off in the NBA, they started their rivalry before that, back in the 1979 NCAA championship. That game was only the beginning. When they entered the league, Magic with the Lakers and Bird with the Celtics, they immediately became the faces of two franchises that defined the 80s. Their head-to-head matchups totaled 37 games, and Magic's teams won 22 of those. They met in the finals 3 times, with Magic coming out on top twice. This rivalry was less about cities and more about how two completely different styles clashed. Magic ran the floor like a conductor with a basketball, and Bird brought this methodical, tough, high IQ game that gave defenders nightmares. They pushed each other, and while the Lakers and Celtics already had their history, it was Magic and Bird that brought it roaring back to life with personal edge. Shaq and Kobe Bryant had a rivalry inside the same jersey. From 1996 to 2004, they built a dynasty, but their relationship was packed with tension. 3 straight titles, 3 finals MVPs for Shaq, and constant reports of clashes behind the scenes. After Shaq was traded, the rivalry evolved, Kobe chasing his own legacy, trying to prove he didn't need the big man. Eventually he did. Kobe won 2 more rings without him. This wasn't about team rivalries. This was 2 superstars in the same spotlight, battling to be the one standing in it. Paul Pierce and LeBron James saw a lot of each other in the late 2000s and early 2010s. They weren't friendly rivals. There was trash talk, a real edge to every meeting. In total, they faced off 69 times, with LeBron barely leading in wins. In the playoffs, LeBron had the edge again, 17-13. Pierce was already established with the Celtics, and LeBron was the rising star trying to get through Boston to reach the top. Every series felt personal, and while the teams mattered, the spotlight always circled back to LeBron versus Pierce. Giannis and James Harden might not have the decades-long story of the old-school matchups, but their rivalries got something else: conflict. From MVP debates to shade thrown through the media, it always felt like these two just didn't mesh. They faced each other 28 times, and it's been perfectly split, 14 wins apiece. Giannis plays with relentless physicality and versatility, while Harden's all craft and scoring finesse. There was a time not long ago when fans and analysts were constantly comparing them. Who was more valuable? Who was more impactful? Who could carry a team deeper? And that constant comparison fueled their head-to-heads. Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman locked horns in some of the most physical games of the 90s. Malone brought the power and the mid-range scoring, and Rodman was the pest who lived to disrupt him. They played 45 times, and it was a full-on clash of roles. In the finals, Malone scored, Rodman rebounded, and neither backed down. Their games were filled with battles on the glass, hard fouls, and a whole lot of chest bumps. This wasn't about team banter. It was about 2 guys trying to dominate the same space on the floor. LeBron James and Kevin Durant are different from the other rivalries because their timeline's still active. They've gone at it over 40 times, including some massive finals matchups. LeBron has more wins, but Durant's got finals victories that came while matched up against him. This one isn't just about stats. It's about careers that have been defined in comparison to one another. They've both been league MVPs, scoring champions, and faces of their own dynasties. When they're on the floor together, everything stops. It's LeBron versus KD. That's the show. And then there's Patrick Ewing and Hakeem, the battle of the bigs. These two anchored the middle for over a decade and clashed 35 times. Their most famous meeting came in the 1994 finals. Hakeem's Rockets took that series in 7 games, but both centers left everything out there. Hakeem averaged nearly 27 points in that series, while Ewing grabbed over 12 rebounds a night. The matchup was all about interior dominance, footwork versus strength, defense versus finesse. And for fans of 90s basketball, that rivalry was a masterclass in what it meant to be a franchise center. These rivalries weren't about cities or jerseys, they were about names. Magic, Bird, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Durant. Their battles shaped careers, legacies, and in some cases, the direction of the entire league. Level 4, one-sided. The LeBron-era Cavaliers absolutely owned the Raptors. From 2016 through 2018, Toronto ran into Cleveland in the playoffs 3 straight years and lost every single time. It wasn't just defeats, it was dominance. In 10 playoff games across those last 2 matchups, Cleveland won all 10. LeBron averaged nearly 27 points, along with nearly 8 assists and 7 rebounds per game in 62 career games against Toronto. Even when the Raptors had their best regular season in franchise history, they couldn't get through Cleveland. It got so lopsided that fans started calling Toronto LeBronto. The Raptors had great players and strong records, but whenever they saw LeBron in May, the story was already written. No matter the year or roster tweaks, it ended with Cleveland walking away and Toronto left, wondering how to stop one guy. Then there's Rocket versus Warriors. Houston built entire rosters designed to take Golden State down, switch heavy defenses, floor spacing, isolations galore, and it never worked. Sure, in the regular season, they could hang with the Warriors. They even held the edge in some years, but in the playoffs, 0 series wins. Golden State went 5-0 against them. The 2018 Western Conference Finals was the closest they came, taking it to 7 games, even leading by double digits in Game 7. But then they missed 27 straight three-pointers, and Golden State punched their finals ticket again. Harden was brilliant. Chris Paul was injured. None of it mattered. The Warriors always found a way to win. Houston's obsession with beating that team turned into a long, painful string of almost. Michael Jordan versus Wilkins had style, highlights, and elite scoring, but not a fair fight. Jordan averaged over 31 points in their 48 head-to-head games, and his Bulls won 30 of those. Wilkins was a phenomenal scorer, but Jordan wasn't just putting up numbers. He was racking up wins. They never met in the playoffs during Wilkins' best years, but even in the regular season, Jordan's dominance was clear. While Wilkins wowed crowds with dunks and athleticism, Jordan was doing all that and taking the dub. Their battles made for great shows, but there was never a doubt about who was leaving with the upper hand. Tim Duncan's Spurs versus the Grit and Grind Grizzlies is a textbook one-sided rivalry. They faced off 4 times in the playoffs during Duncan's career. San Antonio won 3 of those series. In 2013, the Grizzlies made it to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history, and the Spurs swept them. It wasn't just that San Antonio had more talent. They had the experience, the composure, and the firepower Memphis couldn't match. Even when Memphis pulled off the 8-1 upset in 2011, beating the Spurs in the first round, it never flipped the rival. That series was the exception, not the rule. Over the full stretch of Duncan's career, San Antonio handled Memphis again and again. They always had the answer. The Jordan Bulls versus the Ewing Knicks felt like war, physical, dramatic, intense. But the Bulls kept winning. New York was constantly stuck playing runner-up in the Eastern Conference. In the 90s, the Knicks had their shot nearly every year, and nearly every year the Bulls were the wall they couldn't climb. They met 6 times in the playoffs during the Jordan era. Chicago won 5 of those series. In 1993, it was supposed to be New York's year. They had home court. They were up 2 games to none. Then Jordan took the next 4, and it was over. Even in the years Jordan was gone, the Knicks still couldn't get past the Bulls in the standing. The battles were fierce, but the results were lopsided. Jordan always closed the door. And finally, Kings versus Lakers. In the early 2000s, the Kings had one of the most exciting teams in basketball. They had ball movement, depth, star power, and an actual chance, but it didn't matter. The Lakers won every playoff series. In 2000, they beat Sacramento in 5. In 2001, they swept them. In 2002, they went to 7 games, and that's where the pain settled in for Kings fans. That Game 6 became one of the most controversial in league history. 18 more free throws for the Lakers in the 4th quarter alone. Sacramento had the talent to win a title, but Los Angeles always stood in the way. Kobe and Shaq were just too much. The Kings got close, but close didn't count. Each of these rivalries had potential. There were stars, intensity, high stakes, but they all share the same script. One side writing the ending every single time. Level 5, era defined. Cavaliers versus Warriors wasn't just a rivalry, it was the rivalry of the 2010s. They met in 4 straight NBA finals, something no other pair of teams has ever done. In 2015, Golden State came out on top, winning in 6 games against a shorthanded Cleveland team. The very next year, Cleveland made history, becoming the first team ever to come back from down 3-1 in the finals. LeBron's chase down block, Kyrie's dagger 3, it all happened in that series. But after that, Golden State shifted the balance of power again. In 2017 and 2018, with Kevin Durant now on the roster, the Warriors beat the Cavaliers in 5 and then swept them in 4. The matchups became the NBA's most watched drama, showcasing 2 completely different play styles: the 3-point heavy, movement-based Warriors, and the LeBron-led, physical and cerebral Cavaliers. This wasn't just 2 teams playing basketball, it was the league's identity in that decade. Every postseason seemed like a path leading back to this clash. These finals defined how people remember the era. Knicks versus Pacers in the 90s was pure Eastern Conference chaos. They met in the playoffs 6 times across that decade. 3 of those series went the distance. In 1994, the Knicks outlasted the Pacers in a brutal 7-game, Eastern Conference Finals. But Indiana struck back in 1995, with Reggie Miller hitting 8 points in under 9 seconds in Game 1 and delivering the ultimate Spike Lee retaliation. This rivalry was all elbows, stare downs, and late game drama. Even the 2000 Eastern Conference Finals gave us more fuel, with Indiana finally breaking through and reaching the final. The players didn't hide their dislike. Ewing and Oakley brought toughness. Miller and Rick Smits brought sharpshooting and post play, and it all played out in the trenches. If you wanted to explain what the 90s looked like in the East, you point to this rivalry. It was intense, memorable, and stretched out long enough to evolve from personal to iconic. Dirk versus Wade became one of the NBA's most compelling two-part stories. The first act was in 2006. Wade erupted in the finals, averaging nearly 35 points a game, and Miami came back from a 2-game deficit to win the title. That loss haunted Dirk. Fast forward to 2011, and the rematch was set. Wade now had LeBron by his side, while Dirk was leading a veteran Dallas squad. This time, Dirk flipped the script. He took over fourth quarters, hit clutch shots, and led the Mavericks to their first championship. The finals MVP went to Dirk, and his revenge tour was complete. Along the way, Wade and LeBron had mocked Dirk's illness in a press conference, only to get beaten in 6 games. The rivalry only had 2 final series, but the weight of those moments and the direct player versus player impact made it one of the defining clashes of the late 2000s and early 2010. It was about redemption, legacy, and the evolution of 2 stars across time. Duncan versus Garnett was all business. No trash talk, no theatrics, just 2 of the best big men of the 2000s going head-to-head over 50 times. Garnett brought fire and versatility. Duncan brought poise and consistency. They both dominated on both ends, but in different ways. Duncan won 5 titles. Garnett grabbed 1. Duncan had the edge in team success and playoff dominance, but the games were always battle. When Garnett was in Minnesota, the rivalry was quiet. Great play on bad teams facing off against greatness. But once he joined Boston, the tone changed. They met an intense playoff series, including a 7-game war in 2008. That year, Garnett's Celtics went on to win it all, but Duncan and the Spurs remained a benchmark of consistency. Their clash wasn't about drama. It was about how the power forward role evolved in a decade shaped by them. This rivalry was less about headline and more about the way they pushed the position forward. Walt Frazier versus Jerry West is one of the best examples of how rivalries shaped the early NBA. These 2 guards defined the league's look in the late 60s and early 70s. West was already established, Mr. Clutch, a scoring machine with surgical precision. Frazier, on the other hand, brought flash, defense, and New York cool. They didn't just meet in regular season games, they represented opposite coasts, opposite styles, and opposite stages of stardom. West averaged close to 29 points per game in their meetings. Frazier, never quite as statistically dominant, still held his own and led the Knicks to 2 championships. In 1970, Frazier had a legendary Game 7, 36 points, 19 assists, helping seal a title and outplaying West in the most important game of their head-to-head story. This wasn't just a rivalry of numbers. It was about rising national exposure, growing popularity, and the NBA expanding its audience. When people talk about what pro basketball looked like before the Magic and Bird era, Frazier and West is the rivalry that comes up. Every one of these rivalries didn't just happen. They shaped how people remember basketball in their respective decades. From the pure physical grind of Knicks Pacers to the stylistic arms race of Cavaliers Warriors, these weren't just matchups. They were cultural snapshots. These were the clashes that told the story of where the league had been and where it was going. Level 6, Bad Blood. Pistons versus Pacers is the rivalry nobody forgets. Not because of a playoff classic or a finals showdown, but because of the night everything exploded. November 19th, 2004. With 45 seconds left in a regular season game, a hard foul by Ron Artest turned into a shove by Ben Wallace, which then became an all-out brawl that spilled into the stand. Artest jumped into the crowd after being hit by a drink. Steven Jackson followed. Fans were throwing punches. Players were swinging back. It ended with 9 players suspended for a total of 146 games and several fans facing criminal charges. The league overhauled its security and alcohol policies. It went from game to chaos in second, and the incident, later called Malice at the Palace, marked the lowest point of NBA player-fan relations. But even before that night, these teams already had tension. Both were physical, both were Central Division rivals, and both wanted to be the dominant force in the East. After that game, it was clear. This wasn't just a rivalry, it was personal. Russell Westbrook versus Kevin Durant was once a partnership. They shared the floor in Oklahoma City, made a finals run, and looked like the West future. But everything changed on July 4th, 2016, when Durant signed with the team that beat them, the Warriors. Westbrook didn't take it lightly. Their first game against each other after the split was filled with stare-downs and silence. They didn't talk, didn't acknowledge each other, and played like they had something to prove. Durant joined a juggernaut, while Westbrook played angry and alone. Westbrook posted cryptic social media shots, like the cupcake post aimed at Durant. Durant clapped back in interviews, and their head-to-head matchups turned into must-watch TV. Even their teammates added fuel, with subtle jabs and clear sides. The bad blood came from more than basketball. It was about loyalty, abandonment, and respect. The chemistry they once had turned into visible friction every time they stepped on the court. Dwight Howard and Shaq never shared a team, but their feud might have been more intense than most player rivalries. The issue started with a nickname. Howard embraced the Superman identity, same as Shaq once did, and that didn't sit well with O'Neal. From there, Shaq publicly criticized Dwight repeatedly. He questioned his skill, downplayed his dominance, and made it clear he didn't see Howard as his successor. Howard, on his part, kept trying to stay respectful, but eventually responded, saying Shaq seemed insecure. The tension wasn't about one moment. It was about legacy. Shaq saw someone being compared to him and didn't like it. Howard saw a legend tearing him down when he should have been lifting him up. They went back and forth in interviews, never letting the issue rest. It wasn't just two centers in different eras. It was two careers clashing in public view. Westbrook versus Patrick Beverley has always been fueled by contact, physical, literal, and unrelenting. It all started in 2013. Westbrook was calling a timeout in a playoff game when Beverley lunged in for a steal and hit Westbrook's knee, causing a torn meniscus. That single play changed the Thunder's playoff run and Westbrook's relationship with Beverley. After that, every meeting came with tension. In 2014, Beverley tried the same move again, earning a technical foul. The confrontations kept happening. They jawed during games, shoved, barked at refs, and carried visible resentment. At one point, Westbrook said Beverley tricks y'all, claiming he wasn't a great defender, just aggressive. Beverley fired back, calling him a stat chaser. The feud became more than hard fouls. It became a war of perception, pride, and who controlled the narrative around their reputation. Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas had a rivalry wrapped inside two larger team feuds, Celtics versus Pistons and East Coast versus Midwest, but their issues were personal too. In the late 1980s, they faced each other dozens of times, including intense playoff battles. In one unforgettable moment, in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals, Bird stole an inbounds pass from Thomas in the closing seconds and scored the game-winning layup. Later, Thomas gave an interview where he said if Bird were black, he'd be just another good guy, sparking major backlash. Though he apologized, the damage was done. Their matchups were already heated, but after that, things got even sharper. Bird's Celtics kept trying to fend off the rising bad boys, and Thomas was at the heart of that push. Their head-to-head ended in Bird's favor, but the friction never fully cooled. Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas went from best friends to cold stares in the final. They met in back-to-back NBA championships in 1988 and 1989. Magic won one, Isaiah won the other, but their personal fallout came off the court. Magic later said that Thomas had spread rumors questioning his sexuality after Magic's HIV diagnosis. Isaiah denied it, but the rift was deep. Their friendship dissolved, and when the Dream Team roster came out for the 1992 Olympics, Thomas was left off. Many believed Magic and other stars played a role in that exclusion. The feud lingered for years. They went from sharing kisses before games to avoiding each other altogether. It wasn't until 2017 that they publicly reconciled in an emotional TV interview. But for over 2 decades, what had been a model friendship turned into one of the most personal, layered rivalries in NBA history. Each of these rivalries didn't just have competitive stakes, they had wounds, physical, emotional, or reputational. They weren't just games, they were grudges played out in front of millions. Level 7, historic. The Lakers and Celtics rivalry isn't just long-standing, it's basically the NBA's unofficial calendar. When they meet, history gets a little louder. They've gone head-to-head in the finals a record 12 times, and those meetings have spanned across 6 different decades. There's a reason people talk about this rivalry like it's an epic saga, because that's exactly what it is. From the early days of Bill Russell denying Los Angeles title after title, to the 80s, when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson dragged the rivalry right into primetime TV, this clash kept evolving. In the 60s alone, Boston walked away with all 6 finals wins over Los Angeles, stacking banners, while LA collected runner-up frustration. The 80s flipped the energy. Magic brought the Showtime era, and those Celtics-Lakers finals in 1984, 85, and 87 were instant classics. That back and forth wasn't just competitive, it felt personal. It helped define the decade, and they weren't done. The two franchises met again in 2008, and then again in 2010. That stretch gave us Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Kobe Bryant, adding their names to the long scroll of legends tied to this war. The Celtics took 2008, the Lakers bounced back and claimed 2010. You couldn't write a more balanced script if you tried. The Celtics lead the all-time series, both regular season and playoffs, but it's close. And that's part of what keeps the fire going. They're practically mirrors of each other when it comes to legacy. Now, the Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan saga, that's pure spite-fueled fuel. They didn't like each other, and it showed. In 65 matchups, Thomas walked away with the slight edge, 36 wins to 29. He had the edge in playoff games too, 12 to 10. But this wasn't just some numbers game. These two fought for control of the East, and it got messy. In the late 80s, the Pistons were the last wall Jordan had to climb, and Detroit made it painful. They pushed, shoved, and sent Chicago home 3 straight years. But in 1991, everything flipped. The Bulls finally broke through, and Detroit walked off the court without a handshake with almost 8 seconds left on the clock. That moment, silent, petty, unforgettable, kind of froze there. Relationship and time. Then there's the Dream Team drama. Thomas didn't make the roster in 1992, and people still argue about why. But with Jordan having major influence, it's hard not to connect those dots. This rivalry was more than basketball. It was a shift. When Chicago finally took over, it marked the beginning of Jordan's empire and the end of Detroit's reign. That transition, it changed the league's entire vibe. Less bruising, more branding. But if you want to talk dominance, meeting resistance, Wilt Chamberlain versus Bill Russell is the origin story of big man drama. These two saw each other across the court around 142 times. Chamberlain did what he always did. He put up numbers that looked fake. Over 30 points, nearly 29 rebounds, close to 4 assists per game. But the scoreboard kept siding with Russell. In 8-0 playoff series, Russell's teams won 7. That's not a coin toss, that's a trend. Chamberlain had a 4-8 record in finals games when Russell was the opponent. Meanwhile, Russell won 11 titles in 13 seasons. 2 for Wilt. One guy had the stats, the other guy had the rings. It was brains versus brawn, structure versus solo strength, and Russell's team-first style came out on top way more often than not. What makes it wild is that Chamberlain wasn't some selfish scorer. He adjusted, he passed, he rebounded like he was allergic to letting other people touch the ball. But Russell always had the deeper team, and he made those teams better with pure defense, leadership, and consistency. This wasn't just about 2 players. It was about 2 visions of basketball clashing, and Russell's vision kept winning. The early 80s brought another heavyweight battle, this time at the forward position. Larry Bird and Julius Erving weren't just stars, they were opposites in style, who kept ending up in each other's path. Between Bird and Erving, there were 68 showdowns. Bird won 35, Erving won 33. It was tight all the way. They didn't duck each other either. They met in 4 Eastern Conference finals, 1980, 81, 82, and 85. That stretch saw the Celtics and Sixers battling for control of the East year after year. And the thing was, both teams brought different flavors. Philly was flash and finesse. Boston was grit and cold precision. One game in 1984 kind of summed up their energy. Bird dropped 42 points in 30 minutes and held Irving to 6. 6. That's not just a statement, that's a warning. Still, Irving had his moments too. He wasn't some passenger. He was leading Philly to consistent playoff battles, throwing down dunks and making defenders rethink their life choices. This wasn't a one-sided clash. It was 2 icons fighting to control the stage before Jordan took over the league spotlight. What's wild about all 4 of these rivalries is how much they did for the NBA beyond just the scoreboard. They weren't temporary beefs or one-year flukes. They were battles that helped shape the league's identity. Whether it was dynasties clashing, legends battling for the crown, or styles colliding, these showdowns made basketball feel massive. You didn't just watch them, you remembered them. Every meeting, Mo added another piece to the story. They stretched across eras, from grainy, black and white footage to primetime cable, from Russell's methodical control to Jordan's explosive rise, from Magic's dazzling passes to Kobe's footwork. And every rivalry brought out something different in each player. Toughness, swagger, pettiness, heart. That's why they all live in the historic category. They're not just memories, they're milestones. Nikola Jokic, he got passed on 40 times in the 2014 NBA draft before the Nuggets finally grabbed him at pick number 41. Why? Because teams doubted just about everything except his passport. His athleticism got questioned the most. Scouts said he lacked explosiveness at the rim and couldn't finish strong enough inside. His shooting stats didn't help either. In the Adriatic League, he made 15 threes out of 68 attempts. That's just 22%, which definitely didn't scream future MVP. Plus, he played overseas in Serbia, not at a big US college, so he flew under the radar. One of the most documented passes came from the Raptors, who had the 37th pick and chose DeAndre Daniels instead. Yeah, they considered Jokic, but not enough to actually do it. Plus, the Raptors are the only team who had any other reported interest during the draft. 40 different picks, 30 teams, and nobody pulled the trigger until Denver. Now he's a multiple-time MVP, a franchise changer, and easily one of the biggest draft steals ever. The crazy part, he was picked during a Taco Bell commercial. That's how off the radar he was. Teams didn't just miss, they missed big. Denver's the only one that took the risk, and it paid off in a huge way. Steph Curry, he got drafted 7th in 2009, but only after the Timberwolves swerved around him twice in a row. With the 5th pick, they took Ricky Rubio from Spain, then at 6th, they grabbed Johnny Flynn from Syracuse. Both were point guards. Curry was still sitting there, but Minnesota kept it moving. According to reports, Curry's own father even told them not to draft his son, which might have nudged their decision too. Now, to be fair, teams had legit concerns. Curry came from Davidson, not exactly a powerhouse. He was seen as undersized, not super athletic, and had a history of ankle injuries that made people nervous. Sure, he could shoot, but scouts wondered if that'd be enough against pro-level defense. Minnesota rolled the dice on Rubio's international resume and Flynn's college stats, thinking Curry's shooting wouldn't carry over. But that 7th pick, Golden State made it, and it flipped the script. Curry's now a multi-time MVP, won several rings, and basically redefined how the league thinks about shooting. Meanwhile, Flynn's NBA career was over in a flash, and Rubio never hit that star level. Passing on Curry twice became one of the biggest missed chances ever. Michael Jordan. He went 3rd in the 1984 NBA draft, but not before 2 teams made choices they'd regret forever. The Houston Rockets had the 1st pick and chose Hakeem. That made sense. They needed a center and Hakeem was dominant. But then came the Portland Trail Blazers. With the 2nd pick, they took Sam Bowie, another center. Why? Because they already had Clyde Drexler and felt like another shooting guard wasn't what they needed. The front office in Portland thought Bowie filled a positional hole. He was a 7-footer, and back then, size ruled. But Bowie had an injury history in college that teams knew about. Still, Portland made their pick based on need, not talent. Jordan was right there, a national champion with North Carolina, known for his scoring and athleticism, and they let him slide. Once the Bulls picked him at 3, it was over. Jordan went on to win 6 NBA titles and 5 MVPs, and became one of the most iconic athletes ever. The Blazers' decision to pass on him is now a textbook case of choosing fit over greatness. And yeah, that one still stings more than a little. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Giannis. He was picked 15th overall in the 2013 draft, but not before 14 teams let him slide right past them. That includes the Mavericks, who reportedly had scouts pushing hard to take him, but ownership said no. And with that, the Bucks pounced. The Cavaliers had the 1st pick and chose Anthony Bennett. Remember him? Probably not. That's how wild this draft ended up. Giannis came from Greece, playing for Philadelphia, which didn't exactly scream NBA ready to most front offices. His skills were raw, his shooting was a question mark, and his competition level didn't help his case. Scouts saw the tools, length, athleticism, upside, but a lot of them weren't ready to wait for all that to develop. Teams wanted production, not projects. Still, Milwaukee saw something, and what they got was a 2-time MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, and an NBA champion. It's one thing to pass on talent. It's another to ignore your own scouts. That's what makes the Mavericks pass especially brutal. 14 teams had the chance. Only one took it. That 15th pick turned into one of the best players of his generation. Luka. He was picked 3rd in the 2018 NBA draft, but not before the Suns and Kings both passed on him. Phoenix went with DeAndre Ayton 1st, and Sacramento took Marvin Bagley the 3rd right after. Luka had already dominated Europe, winning EuroLeague MVP and a championship with Real Madrid, but somehow he still slipped past the top 2 spots. Sacramento's decision came down to roster fit. Their general manager at the time, Divac, said they already had De'Aaron Fox and didn't need another guard, so they passed on Luka for a big man. That pick didn't exactly age well. Meanwhile, Atlanta selected Luka at number 3, but immediately traded him to Dallas for Trae Young and a protected future pick. The Mavericks didn't hesitate. Once in the league, Luka wasted no time proving everyone wrong. He won Rookie of the Year, became a multi-time All-Star, made all NBA first teams, and even broke records for youngest triple-doubles. He's listed at 6 feet 8 inches and plays like he's 2 steps ahead of everyone. The Suns and Kings had their shot, and both let it go. That third pick, Dallas turned it into a franchise cornerstone. Expect they traded him to the Lakers years later. Kobe Bryant. He was taken 13th overall in the 1996 draft, but 12 teams made their picks first, and none of them picked him. The New Jersey Nets had the 8th pick and considered him seriously, but went with Kerry Kittles instead. The Clippers had the 7th pick, reportedly loved his workout, and still chose Lou Renzen Wright. Charlotte finally picked him, then traded him to the Lakers for Divac. So technically, even they passed on keeping him. At the time, teams weren't rushing to draft high school guards. Kobe was just 17, and front offices were nervous about maturity, physical readiness, and how he'd stack up against seasoned college talent. It didn't help that taking a shooting guard that young was still considered risky. Teams weren't sure he'd be ready for the NBA grind, but they were wrong. Kobe became a 5-time NBA champion, won an MVP, grabbed 2 Finals MVPs, and was selected to 18 All-Star games. He scored over 33,000 points in his career. Every team that picked ahead of him had the chance. Some showed interest, all passed. That 13th pick ended up being one of the greatest to ever play, Kevin Durant. He went 2nd overall in the 2007 NBA draft, but not before the Portland Trail Blazers made the choice to pass on him. With the number 1 pick, they selected Greg Oden, a 7-foot center out of Ohio State. That single decision left Durant available for the Seattle Supersonics, who didn't hesitate to grab him. Coming out of Texas, Durant had just averaged over 25 points and 11 rebounds per game as a freshman. He was long, athletic, and already showing signs of being an elite scorer. Portland's choice was based on need. They wanted a dominant big man, and Oden's size and defense checked that box. Meanwhile, Durant was viewed as more of a finesse scorer, and there were questions about his strength and frame. Still, the numbers spoke loudly, and the decision to pass on him turned out to be one of the biggest draft what-ifs in league history. Durant went on to win Rookie of the Year, multiple scoring titles, an MVP, and NBA championships. Oden, unfortunately, struggled with injuries and played only a handful of games. That number 1 pick could have changed everything. Portland had the chance. Seattle cashed in. Larry Bird, he was picked 6th overall in the 1978 NBA draft, which means 5 teams passed on him before the Celtics made the call. That list includes the Indiana Pacers, who had the number 1 pick and didn't take the homegrown superstar. Instead, they passed, and some in their front office have publicly regretted it ever since. Nancy Leonard, part of their leadership team at the time, said the board voted against drafting Bird, even though she and the head coach were in favor. Why the hesitation? Bird had made it clear he was returning to Indiana State for 1 more season, so any team drafting him would have to wait. On top of that, there was the fear of not being able to sign him later. Some execs worried he'd command too much money, or that they'd lose his rights if they didn't close a deal quickly, so teams played it safe. Boston didn't. They drafted him anyway, waited a year, and then watched him turn their team around fast. In his rookie season, the Celtics jumped from 29 wins to 61. 3 titles, 3 MVPs, and a Hall of Fame career later. Those 5 passes look even worse. Shea. He was drafted 11th overall in 2018, but 10 teams had the chance to grab him first and didn't. Charlotte made the pick at 11, then flipped him to the Clippers for Miles Bridges and 2 second-rounders. So yeah, even the team that picked him passed, in a way. Scouts liked his size and wingspan, but weren't sold on the rest. His frame was lean, his shooting volume was low, and there were doubts about whether he had enough burst to create in the NBA. Despite his solid numbers at Kentucky, teams questioned if he'd ever become more than a role player. One scouting report straight up said he didn't project as a star. The Knicks even drafted his college teammate Kevin Knox over him. His rookie year with the Clippers was solid, and by the next season, he was part of the Paul George trade to Oklahoma City. Fast forward to now, and he's an MVP, a scoring champ, and a Finals MVP, all from the 11th pick. 10 teams passed. 1 team picked and traded him, and Oklahoma City ended up with a franchise cornerstone because nobody else saw it coming. James Harden. He was drafted 3rd overall in the 2009 NBA Draft, which means 2 teams passed on him before the Thunder called his name. The Clippers had the first pick and selected Blake Griffin. The Grizzlies picked second and went with Hasheem Thabeet. That's how Harden ended up sitting there at number 3, a future MVP, just waiting. At Arizona State, Harden had solid numbers, but wasn't seen as flashy or freakishly athletic. Scouts liked his feel for the game, but questioned whether his scoring would hold up in the NBA. Meanwhile, Griffin was all power and highlight reels. Harden thrived in Oklahoma City, won 6th Man of the Year, and then got traded to Houston in 2012. That's where he exploded. He became an MVP, a scoring champ, and a walking offensive system. So even though only 2 teams passed, it still counts. They had the chance. Harden became one of the best scorers of his era, Dirk Nowitzki. He was picked 9th overall in the 1998 NBA draft by the Milwaukee Bucks, but not for long. They traded his rights, along with Pat Garrity, to the Mavericks in exchange for Robert Traylor. So technically, Milwaukee picked Dirk, then passed on him. That deal became one of the most lopsided draft day trades ever. Dirk had been playing in Germany for DJK Würzburg, so he wasn't the most familiar name to NBA front offices. Some teams didn't know what to make of a 7-footer with a jump shot, and even though he went top 10, 8 teams picked other players ahead of him. Milwaukee's decision to trade him after drafting him is the real headline. They had a future MVP in their hands and gave him away for a player who never hit that level. Dirk spent 21 seasons with Dallas, won MVP in 2007, and led them to a championship in 2011 as Finals MVP. He became a 14-time All-Star and a global icon. The Bucks could have had all of that. Instead, they watched from the sideline. They didn't just pass on him, they handed him over. And Dallas never looked back. Jalen Brunson, he was selected 33rd overall in the 2018 NBA Draft, meaning 32 players were taken before him. Every one of those teams had a shot and passed. The Mavericks made the pick early in the second round, despite Brunson winning National Player of the Year, the Bob Cousy Award, and leading Villanova to a national title just months earlier. So why did he fall? Scouts focused on his size. At 6'2", he was viewed as undersized for a lead guard. He wasn't considered super explosive, and there were doubts about how he'd hold up on defense against bigger, faster players. Even though he was one of the most polished guards in the draft, teams overlooked him for prospects with more perceived upside. Dallas took him anyway, signed him to a 4-year deal, and let him work. He didn't start off flashy, but by the time he left in 2022, he was one of their best players. The Knicks gave him a 4-year, $104 million deal, and he earned every penny. From 33rd pick to All-Star, Kawhi Leonard, he was picked 15th overall in the 2011 NBA draft by the Indiana Pacers, who immediately traded his rights to the Spurs for George Hill. That alone already qualifies as a miss, but it gets worse. 14 teams made picks ahead of him. 14 teams passed. He came out of San Diego State with 2 seasons of college ball, a big wingspan, and the kind of defensive profile coaches dream about. But scouts weren't sold on his offense. His jumper looked shaky, and his role in the NBA was described as hard to define. That label helped push him down the board. Teams picked bigs, guards, scorers, everything but the guy who ended up winning 2 championships and 2 Finals MVPs. Kawhi didn't just turn into a solid player. He became a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, a multi-time All-Star, and a Finals closer. The Spurs saw the value and pulled the trigger. The Pacers traded him. Everyone else, they let him slide. Those first 14 picks are now a list of what could have been. Kawhi went at 15. That's 15 chances to change a franchise. Only one team saw it, and it wasn't the one that drafted Russell Westbrook. He was drafted 4th overall in the 2008 NBA draft by the Seattle Supersonics, just before they became the Oklahoma City Thunder. That means 3 teams made their picks before him and passed. The Bulls took Derrick Rose at number 1, the Heat picked Michael Beasley at 2, and the Grizzlies went with O.J. Mayo at 3. Westbrook was right there, but they all looked elsewhere. At UCLA, Westbrook was electric on defense and known for his athleticism, but he wasn't a polished scorer yet. Scouts liked the energy, but questioned if he could run an NBA offense. He wasn't the typical floor general, so when draft day came, teams leaned toward prospects with more developed scoring or perceived star-ready tools. Turns out, Oklahoma City got the right one. Westbrook became a 9-time All-Star, won MVP in 2017, and made triple-doubles a routine stat line. His MVP season, over 31 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds per game. He did things nobody expected from a 4th pick. While the top 3 had talent, only one of them rewrote the record books. Westbrook wasn't just passed on. He was underestimated, Donovan Mitchell. He was taken 13th overall in the 2017 NBA draft by the Denver Nuggets, then immediately traded to the Utah Jazz. That means 12 teams picked before him, and all 12 passed. Pre-draft scouting liked his wingspan, his athleticism, and his finishing ability, but his shooting consistency and positional fit led to hesitation. Some thought he might be too small for shooting guard and not polished enough for point guard. He played 2 seasons at Louisville and averaged about 15 points per game as a sophomore. But despite his explosive play, teams ahead of Utah opted for other prospects. The Jazz didn't blink. They got Mitchell and watched him instantly outperform expectations. Since entering the league, he's become a multi-time All-Star, a playoff regular, and in 2023, he dropped 71 points in a game, a Cavaliers franchise record. He's had consistent scoring output every season and stepped up as a team leader everywhere he's played. 12 picks came and went. Teams wanted safer bets or flashier names. Utah made the trade, and it paid off. Mitchell didn't just rise, he exploded. The teams that passed, they watched from the box score. Charles Barkley, he was drafted 5th overall in the 1984 NBA draft by the Philadelphia 76ers, which means 4 teams passed on him. The Rockets went first and took Hakeem. The Blazers picked Sam Bowie 2nd. The Bulls took Michael Jordan 3rd. The Mavericks picked Sam Perkins at number 4. Then came Barkley at 5, and he never let anyone forget it. At Auburn, Barkley was a beast, but scouts had concerns. He was listed around 6'6", but played like a center. That size versus position mismatch made teams pause. He was powerful, explosive, and could rebound with the best of them. But his build didn't fit neatly into the usual NBA mold. The draft class was stacked, and teams reached for height or fit instead of just going with dominance. Barkley didn't need long to prove them wrong. He became an 11-time All-Star, won MVP in 1993, and finished his career with over 23,000 points and more than 12,000 rebounds. No ring, but Hall of Fame status locked in. 4 teams had the chance to get all that. They passed. The Sixers didn't, and Barkley made it loud and clear. They missed out. Tony Parker. He was picked 28th overall in the 2001 NBA draft by the San Antonio Spurs. That means 27 players were drafted ahead of him. 27 chances for teams to spot a future Finals MVP, and they didn't take it. Born in Belgium, raised in France, Parker had already played professionally before coming to the NBA, but teams weren't ready to gamble on an international point guard at that range. Scouts liked his speed and decision-making, but doubted whether his size and background would translate. Back then, picking late first-round players from overseas came with a lot of unknowns. The Spurs took the risk, and they cashed in. Parker joined a championship-level roster and didn't just survive, he thrived. By 2007, he became the first European-born player to win NBA Finals MVP. He won 4 NBA titles, made 6 All-Star teams, and spent nearly 2 decades running one of the most consistent franchises in league history. The 27 players picked before him, almost all of them were out of the league long before he was. Teams didn't just pass, they overlooked. The Spurs didn't, and Parker made them all pay for it. Carmelo Anthony. In the legendary 2003 NBA draft, he went 3rd overall to the Denver Nuggets, right after the Detroit Pistons passed on him at pick number 2. The Cavs, at number 1, they took LeBron James, no argument there. But Detroit, they picked Darko Milicic, a teenage center from Serbia, instead of a national champion and NCAA tournament MVP. Anthony had just led Syracuse to the title in his freshman year and looked NBA ready. He's since revealed that the Pistons promised they'd take him, and he believed it, but they pivoted, betting on size and potential. Darko became one of the most infamous draft busts in league history. Carmelo, 10-time All-Star, over 28,000 career points, and one of the greatest scorers of his era. The Pistons did win the championship the very next year without him, but the what if still echoes. What if they'd added a scoring machine like Melo to a defensive juggernaut? One pick, one decision, one superstar passed on. That's the story. Jason Tatum, born in Missouri, played at Duke, declared after just 1 season, and entered the 2017 draft with plenty of hype. But despite his strong college campaign, including bouncing back from a foot injury, 2 teams still skipped right past him. The first pick was used on Markelle Fultz. Then came the second pick, and instead of Tatum, it was Lonzo Ball. So there he was, still available at pick 3, and Boston made the move. That's the moment everything changed. The Celtics had traded to get that pick, and they clearly knew what they were doing. Tatum came in at about 6'8", 210 pounds, and didn't waste any time getting noticed. Since then, He's racked up all-star nods, landed all NBA honors, and yep, won a championship in 2024. So while Fultz and Ball had their own paths, Tatum's turned into the kind of player teams build around. The Lakers had the chance. So did the team with the first pick. Both said no. And Boston? They've been cashing in ever since. It's a textbook example of how two teams passed on a future franchise star, and the rest is history. Steve Nash. By the time the 1996 draft rolled around, Nash had put together a strong college resume, but teams weren't lining up for him. 14 picks came and went, and every single team passed. Some scouts questioned the competition he faced in college. Others didn't love his athleticism or size. A few thought his defense might not translate. Whatever the reasons, Nash fell all the way to pick 15, where Phoenix finally made the call. At the time, people actually called it a reach. Turns out it was the opposite. Nash became a two-time most valuable player, made 8 all-star teams, and finished with more than 10,000 assists. His shooting was elite, and he became one of the most efficient point guards in league history. By the end of his career, Nash was sitting comfortably in the Hall of Fame, while most of the guys picked ahead of him were long gone from the spotlight. 14 teams had the shot. None of them took it, and Nash made every one of them regret it. John Stockton. He came out of Gonzaga in 1984, and not a single scout was exactly tripping over themselves to hype. Utah ended up taking him with the 16th pick, which means 15 teams had their chance and just kept on walking. At the time, Gonzaga wasn't a major basketball factory, and Stockton didn't look like someone who'd end up with a statue outside an arena. When his name was called, the crowd in Utah sat there stunned silence, like someone had accidentally turned off the power. Not exactly the hero's welcome, but Stockton didn't care. He went on to play 19 straight seasons with Utah and turned himself into one of the most productive point guards ever. He holds the all-time records for assists with over 15,000 and steals with more than 3,000. He made 10 All-Star appearances and stacked up all NBA honors like it was his side job. He didn't just show up, he ran the show. 15 players went ahead of him in that draft. That's 15 front offices that said, nah, and every one of them watched as Stockton rewrote record books while never wearing another jersey. That's a miss they'll never live down. Joel Embiid. Coming into the 2014 draft, he was considered a top prospect, but concerns over his health pushed him down the board. He'd just had surgery on his right foot, and teams got cold feet fast. Philadelphia scooped him up with the 3rd overall pick, but that meant 2 teams let him slide. Cleveland took Andrew Wiggins first, and Milwaukee followed with Jabari Parker. Both passed on Embiid, even though his talent was obvious when he was on the floor for Kansas. His first 2 seasons were a wash thanks to injuries, which only made the early hesitation seem justified. But then he hit the court in year 3 and changed everything. He became a scoring machine, locked down the paint, and eventually won Most Valuable Player in 2023. He also led the league in scoring 2 years in a row and has made 7 All-Star teams so far. Philadelphia bet on a risk and landed a franchise player. Meanwhile, the 2 teams ahead of them had a clear shot and turned away. Looking back, that gamble on durability now looks like a huge opportunity missed. Embiid did not just bounce back, he dominated. Scottie Pippen, coming out of Central Arkansas, he didn't exactly scream future superstar. The program wasn't well known, and most teams weren't rushing to build around an NAIA forward. Seattle grabbed him with the 5th pick in the 1987 draft, but then immediately traded him to Chicago. So not only did 4 teams skip over him, but the team that actually drafted him gave him away before he ever wore their jersey. That's where it gets brutal in hindsight. Pippen went on to win 6 championships with the Bulls, played in 7 All-Star games, and locked down opponents as one of the best defensive forwards the league's ever seen. He was named to the All-NBA First Team 3 times and made the All-Defense First Team 8 straight years. His averages across more than 1,000 regular season games were 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. Those numbers are solid, but his impact was massive. Chicago didn't just win, they dominated. And the Sonics, they missed out. The 4 teams who picked before him, plus Seattle, all had a shot, and all of them watched as he became a cornerstone of a dynasty. Damian Lillard. He came out of Weber State in 2012 with big numbers, but not much national attention. He wasn't from a major program, and that mattered to teams picking high. Portland took him 6th overall, which means 5 teams skipped him for someone else. Whether it was doubts about his competition level or just not buying into a guard from the Big Sky, those teams made their choice. The interesting part is how quickly Lillard proved them wrong. He won Rookie of the Year his first season, setting a new record for most 3-pointers made by a rookie. From there, he never looked back. He became a regular All-Star, made multiple All-NBA teams, and climbed the scoring chart so fast that by 2022, he was Portland's all-time leading scorer. He didn't need to come from a big-name school to torch the league. He just showed up and started pulling up from 30 feet like it was nothing. And while some of the guys picked ahead of him faded into the background, Lillard built a reputation as one of the most dangerous guards in the game. 5 teams had a shot. Portland got the right one, Karl Malone. He came out of Louisiana Tech in 1985 with strong college numbers but limited national attention. When the draft came around, 12 teams picked ahead of Utah, and every single one of them passed. The Jazz grabbed him with the 13th pick, which turned out to be one of the biggest steals of the decade. Reports said scouts had concerns about his attitude and that his coach didn't exactly sing his praises. That, plus coming from a smaller school in a power forward heavy class, made teams back off. One team, Dallas, was even rumored to be eyeing him before choosing someone else instead. So the slide was real. Malone's response? Nearly 37,000 career points, 2 Most Valuable Player awards, 14 All-Star appearances, and 11 first-team selections. He was a machine, barely missed games, played 18 seasons with Utah, and kept the stat sheet full the entire time. Being drafted 13th doesn't sound outrageous until you see the career that followed. Dozens of teams would have jumped at the chance in hindsight, but back then, they blinked. And Utah landed one of the greatest power forwards ever because of it, Jimmy Butler. After a year at junior college, then 3 at Marquette, scouts had questions. Not about work ethic, but whether his game would scale up. So 29 teams still looked him over. He was picked 30th overall, dead last in the first round, by Chicago. That's 29 missed chances. Butler wasn't flashy out of college. His numbers were steady, around 15 points and 6 boards, but nothing screamed future star. Many teams looked for more upside or went with international prospects. Butler just kept getting better. He worked through limited early minutes, locked in on defense, and kept climbing. Now, he's a multiple-time All-Star, made All-NBA, has led deep playoff runs, and is considered one of the toughest two-way players in the league. No one talks about his draft slot anymore because it doesn't matter. His impact is miles beyond what most teams expect from the final pick of the first round. So yeah, 29 teams had their shot. And while some of those picks fizzled, Butler became a cornerstone. That's not just a pass. They launched him straight into motivation mode, and he never looked back. Chris Paul. He came out of Wake Forest after 2 strong college seasons and was widely seen as the best point guard in the draft. But in 2005, 3 teams picked ahead of New Orleans and passed on him. He went 4th overall, which made those early decisions stand out. Scouts praised his court vision, defense, leadership, and scoring. One write-up even said there wasn't anything he didn't do well. And still, 3 teams said no thanks. What happened after that? He took over immediately. Rookie of the Year, nearly 17 points per game, close to 8 assists, and over 2 steals. And that was just the beginning. He's now a 12-time All-Star, has led the league in assists 5 times, and led in steals 6 times. His name's all over the league's all-time assist leaderboard. He's also made multiple All-NBA and All-Defense teams across a career that stretched over 2 decades. When someone that complete is available at pick 4 and 3 teams walk past him, that's the kind of draft moment this series is built on. Chris Paul wasn't a hidden gem. He was right there, and they still let him slip. Paul George. Coming out of Fresno State in 2010, he had size, athleticism, and skill, but wasn't playing in the spotlight. He was picked 10th overall by the Indiana Pacers, which means 9 teams looked him over and picked someone else. That's 9 passes on a guy who'd become one of the most complete wings of his generation. At the time, he was considered more of a project. Scouts liked his potential, but questioned if he could deliver at the NBA level right away. His school wasn't a basketball powerhouse, and that may have made teams play it safe, but George hit the league and started checking off boxes, scoring, rebounding, defending, creating plays, and guarding top opponents. Since then, multiple All-Star selections, multiple All-NBA teams, and All-Defense nods. He's been one of the league's best two-way players for over a decade. And according to advanced stats, he's posted the highest win shares in his entire draft class. Looking back, it's hard not to notice those 9 teams missed out. He didn't just meet expectations, he blew past them. George was sitting there at pick 10, and those teams let him fall right into Indiana's hands. Rajon Rondo. He came out of Kentucky in 2006 and got picked 21st overall by the Phoenix Suns. Then on draft night, they traded him to Boston. That's 20 teams who had a clear shot and didn't take him. And to really twist the knife, Phoenix didn't even want him. Their coach admitted they weren't considering him in the first place. Scouts loved his passing and defense, but weren't sold on his scoring. Concerns about his size and jump shot knocked him down draft boards, but Boston didn't hesitate, and it paid off. Rondo became a 4-time All-Star, led the league in assists 3 different seasons, and topped the steals leaderboard once too. He helped Boston win a title in 2008 and added another ring with the Lakers in 2020. That's production, longevity, and high-level impact, especially in playoff settings where he built a reputation as one of the smartest floor generals out there. So those 20 teams, they missed out. Rondo wasn't flashy coming in, but he proved it on the biggest stages. That trade from Phoenix to Boston wasn't just a roster move. It was a full-on steal. Tracy McGrady. He came into the 1997 draft, straight out of high school. No college resume, no tournament exposure, just raw potential. Toronto took him with the 9th overall pick. That means 8 teams went first, looked at him, and passed. One of them, Boston, actually passed twice. They had the 3rd and 6th picks and still skipped him. McGrady even admitted his pre-draft interview with Rick Pitino didn't go great, which might have pushed Boston away. Back then, high school players were still seen as risky. Sure, McGrady had the tools, but teams weren't convinced he was ready. Well, he proved that wrong pretty fast. He became a 7-time All-Star, won back-to-back scoring titles, and landed on 7 All-NBA teams. His career averages were nearly 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists a game. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017, which pretty much seals the superstar label. So yeah, Boston had 2 chances and passed both times. And the other 7 teams, same story. Meanwhile, McGrady lit up the league for years. It wasn't just a miss. It was 8 misses in a row on a guy who became one of the most gifted scorers of his era, Nikola Jokic. He's turned a simple rule into a weapon, and it's honestly kind of brilliant. His use of deliberate kicks on defense is way more than a rare occurrence. It's a pattern. Since 2020, he's been called for over 120 kicked ball violations. Just in the 2023 season alone, he logged 56. That was more than anyone else by a long shot. And yeah, it's not by accident. This guy is doing it on purpose. He reads plays early, then lurks around passing lanes like he's waiting for someone to mess up. When he sees a backdoor cut or a skip pass coming, he doesn't chase it down like other bigs might. He just sticks a leg into the lane. Not a full-on swing, just enough of a nudge to force a whistle. And because the rule treats intentional leg contact as a violation, that's all it takes. Possession goes to the offense, but the play dies on the spot. Here's the thing. The call can't be reviewed or challenged. If the ref sees a kick, it's over. No slow motion save. That's what makes it so sneaky useful. He sacrifices the ball, but stops a potential bucket and resets the defense. Low athletic cost, high disruption. Eamon Thompson. He's not just racking up steals and blocks, he's turning defense into disruption. His ability to generate stocks is already one of the best among young players, and the numbers back it up. His steal rate sits around 2.8%, which means nearly 3% of the time he's on the floor, he's snatching the ball away. And with about 1.3 steals per game, he's doing it without fouling much or turning the ball over. That efficiency matters. Blocks are a smaller part of his game, but he still averages about 0.5 per game. As a perimeter guy, that's expected. His main job is to shut down guards and wings, not swat shots like a center. Still, he led the team in both steals and blocks in one season. That says a lot. What makes it even more impressive is how he blends speed with discipline. He's not flying around like a wild card, he picks his spots. His defensive box plus minus was around plus 2.6, and he held opponents to just over 40% shooting. That's elite. Add in his ability to rotate, contest shots, and recover quickly. And you've got a player who doesn't just get stats, he changes possessions. And in big games, he steps up. 5 steals and 3 blocks against Golden State. That's real disruption, not empty highlights. Ja Morant. The cross jab is one of his sharpest tools, and it works because defenders can't read it in time. It starts with a crossover. Ball goes one way, and his opposite foot plants as if he's going that direction too. Then comes the jab, a quick, sharp fake with that same foot, baiting the defender into shifting just enough. That's when he explodes, taking advantage of the space he just created with that tiny weight shift. It's deadly because it's not flashy, it's controlled. He often leads into it with a float dribble, just keeping things loose while reading his man. Once he sees the defender lean or hesitate, he hits the gas. The move's effectiveness depends on tight timing. The crossover, plant, jab, and attack all happen in about a second. Morant's athleticism makes it lethal. He doesn't need much. One wrong step from the defense, and he's at the rim or pulling up for a floater. Against drop coverage, especially in pick and rolls, this move creates angles the bigs can't cover. He's used it to freeze defenders like Rudy Gobert and create space against elite schemes. It's not without risk. Disciplined defenders who don't bite can stall him out, and help defense can still collapse on the drive. But when he times it right, it's unguardable. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Jalen Brunson. Drawing charges is one of those gritty, unflashy skills that most players avoid, but Brunson's turned it into a real weapon. In the 2025 season, he drew about 0.31 per game. Good enough for third in the entire league. That means he's consistently in the right spot at the right time and absorbing real contact to force turnovers. He's logged about 78 total over the past 3 seasons, with over 20 in a single year. And he even led the playoffs in charges drawn with 5. That's a huge swing when every possession matters. What makes this even more interesting is that he's not doing it through brute force. It's all footwork, timing, and guts. He sets up early, gets his feet planted, and takes the hit. That takes more toughness than most give credit for. Now there are limits. Drawing charges is still a low volume stat, and it's risky. One bad angle, and he's called for a block. And the success depends a lot on the refs. Some games, the whistle just doesn't go your way, but Brunson stays consistent. He's not the most athletic guard, but he uses his body control and basketball IQ to stay relevant on defense. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it ends possessions, flips momentum, and Brunson's among the best at making it count. Jose Alvarado. This guy's turned stealing the ball into a brand. Grand Theft Alvarado isn't just a nickname, it's a summary of how he plays defense. He sneaks up on ball handlers like he's got a cloaking device, timing his movements so well that players don't even realize he's coming until the ball's gone. These aren't reckless lunges either. They're calculated, disguised, and efficient. He doesn't just reach in and hope for the best, he sets traps. Whether he's hiding behind a screen or sliding in from the blind side, he's watching the ball handler's eyes, reading the pass, and striking right when they relax. Those behind-the-back steals are not a fluke. He practices them, and they're part of what makes him so hard to read. And even when he doesn't get the steal, his energy changes possessions. He hounds players, cuts off angles, and forces rushed passes. It's not just about taking the ball, it's about making the other guy nervous enough to mess up. But sure, there are risks. If he gambles wrong, it's an easy blow-by. And once teams catch on, they'll start adjusting their passing to avoid his area. Still, his steal rate and defensive value prove he's more than just a gimmick. He's a legit disruptor. Luka, what makes him elite isn't speed. It's the exact opposite. His ability to hit the brakes mid-drive might be the sharpest weapon in his arsenal. He's been clocked in the 93rd percentile in deceleration metrics by P3, way back before he even entered the league. So this isn't something he learned late. It's baked into how he moves. The real story here isn't top speed. It's how fast he can slow down without losing control. His eccentric strength, that's the kind of muscle control that helps you absorb momentum, is reported to be off the charts. Combine that with his lower center of gravity and balance, and it explains how he can stop on a dime without falling over or fading away unintentionally. ESPN even pointed out that he creates space not by blowing past people, but by slowing down. It's not flashy, but it leaves defenders guessing. Watch him in pick and rolls. He doesn't just charge into space. He decelerates into it, forcing defenders to freeze or step the wrong way. Then he pulls up, floats it, or waits for help to collapse. It's manipulation through pace. He's not just moving, he's controlling the tempo of everyone around him. That's why it works. Shea, what makes him stand out isn't just the scoring, it's how absurdly efficient he is while doing it. In the 2025 season, he posted a true shooting percentage around 63.7% while putting up over 30 points per game. That puts him in extremely rare company. Most high-volume scorers see efficiency drop as usage goes up. Not him. He shoots over 51% from the field and hits threes in the mid-30 range, but it's his shot selection that really carries the load. He doesn't force low percentage stuff. If he can't get to the rim, he leans into pull-ups, floaters, or finds a soft spot in the mid-range. And he's elite at drawing contact. His free throw numbers are high, and those are basically the most efficient shots you can take. Turnovers, barely an issue. His turnover rate hovers around 7%, which is wild for someone handling the ball as much as he does. He stays composed, makes the right reads, and doesn't waste possessions. On-off metrics show his team scores better and turns it over less when he's on the floor. His efficiency isn't just a stat, it's a pattern. Every part of his game feeds into it. Smooth mechanics, smart decisions, and the ability to adjust. Even when defense is clamped down, he stays under control. That's what makes his numbers real, not just noise. Luke Cornett. His wild contesting technique from the paint is part weird science, part low-effort wizardry, and it actually works more often than you'd think. They call it the eclipse, not because he blocks the sun, but because he jumps straight up from inside the paint to block the shooter's vision of the rim. He's not trying to block the ball. He's just trying to make the shooter feel like they're launching into a tree. In one season, he used this move about 36 times, mostly against three-point attempts. Shooters made just 12 of them, around 33%. That's below the league average for wide open threes, which usually sits around 38%. And he's usually about 12 feet away when he does it. So yeah, he's not breathing down their necks. But apparently, it still bugs them. He doesn't do this every time. He picks his spots. That makes it harder to prepare for, and it lets him stay in position in case he needs to protect the rim. If timed wrong though, it's useless. Shooters can pump fake, wait it out, or just arc it high enough. But when it works, it messes with rhythm, vision, and confidence. So no, it's not traditional defense. It's his defense, and it's just weird enough to work. Tyrese Halliburton. Blocking threes isn't exactly the job description for a lead guard, but he's pulled it off more than most at his position. He averages about 0.7 blocks per game, and while that might not sound like much, it's unusual for a point guard who's not patrolling the rim. Even more surprising, during one stretch, he ranked second in blocked threes league-wide. That's not luck, that's timing, awareness, and effort. The mechanics? First, he closes out without flying by, keeping balance to go vertical. Then comes the leap. Not a desperate swipe, but a measured contest, timed with the shooter's release. He usually does this from help or rotation, not as the primary defender. It's a read and react move, not something built into the system. And when it works, it's a momentum changer. No shot, possible transition, and a jolt of energy. But there are risks. One wrong step, and it's a three-shot foul. Overcommit, and his man's cutting backdoor. Plus it burns energy, and he's already carrying a heavy offensive load. Still, when he picks the right moment, Halliburton's long arms and control give him just enough to make shooters think twice. It's not a signature move, but it's a bonus that reminds you, he's not just a floor general, he can close the distance too. Kyrie. His left-hand floater isn't just a novelty, it's a polished weapon that shows up when defenses think they forced him into a dead end. He doesn't use it constantly, but when he does, it's usually because the right side is clogged, or the help defense is crowding the paint. Instead of trying to force something with his dominant hand, he flips the script and floats it in with the left, often off balance. Sometimes fading, sometimes from deep. Take that 21-foot game winner over Nikola Jokic. He didn't luck into it. He saw the space, felt Jokic sealing the right side, and went straight into the left-hand floater without hesitation. He said it himself. He saw the opening and went for it. That's not improvisation, that's practiced execution. The mechanics are smooth. He doesn't muscle the shot, he guides it. There's arc, there's touch, and there's control, even with the non-dominant hand. The crazy part is how far out he can float it. Sometimes it's more of a hook or runner hybrid, which gives it flexibility in tight spaces. There are trade-offs. It's harder to control, and the margin for error is thinner than with his usual pull-ups. But when used in the right moment, especially when defenders overplay his right, it becomes a high-skill release valve that only a few guards can pull off. Julius Randle. When he's under control, not barreling into traffic or scrambling on the move, his passing game can actually shine. In the 2025 season, he averaged 4.7 assists in just over 32 minutes per game, which is pretty solid for a power forward. His assist percentage was around 21%, which puts him in the playmaker category, not just big who passes when cornered. When Randle gets touches at the elbow or mid-post, he can scan the floor well. His size gives him clear sight lines to cutters and corner shooters. You'll often see him catch the ball, jab step, read the help defender, and then whip a pass, either baseline or over the top to a diving big. His footwork is key. When he's planted and calm, those reads look clean, and he's strong enough to deliver passes while absorbing contact, which helps when defenders collapse. But there are limits. He's not slinging full court skips or threading double teams like a guard. When things get hectic, switches, late closeouts, defenders jumping lanes, his passes can slow or miss. He's more effective in structured sets where spacing helps him out. The moment things devolve into chaos, his decision-making tightens up. Still, when he's balanced and reading calmly, he's a legit facilitator from the front court. Peyton Pritchard. He's made himself the NBA's unofficial specialist in half-court buzzer beaters. And no, it's not just lucky chucking. In Game 2 of the 2024 Finals, he drained a 34-footer to end the third quarter. Then in Game 5, he hit an even deeper bomb, somewhere between 43 and 50 feet, with under a second left in the first half. That one wasn't just dramatic, it was historic, the longest made shot in a finals game since 1997. Mechanically, he's got a routine. One long dribble, a hop into a balanced stop just beyond half court, and then a lofted, high-arcing release. Not a wild fling, it's a controlled shot, with serious touch. His ability to get arc and spin without rushing the motion shows he's practiced it. And it's not just the finals. ESPN and Yahoo both highlight compilations of similar heaves from him throughout the season. He doesn't spam these. They're reserved for buzzer scenarios, but he's not afraid of them either. That confidence, combined with touch and timing, makes these shots more than flukes. He's turned them into momentum swings and crowd stunners. No, it's not part of the offense. But when the clock hits 1 second, Pritchard is the guy who'll let it fly. And sometimes, he hits. Mikal Bridges. When it comes to availability, he's basically the human version of the NBA's no days off policy. He played all 82 games in the 2025 season and clocked 37 minutes per night. That's not just showing up, that's heavy, nightly mileage. And it's not a fluke. As of late 2024, he had played his 500th consecutive game. In an era where load management is practically part of the schedule, he just keeps logging minutes. His usage rate, around 19.8%. Not sky high, but enough to show he's involved without being overloaded. He's not just standing in the corner, he takes on defensive assignments, spaces the floor, and stays engaged in the offense. That makes his availability even more valuable because he's not just present, he's useful every single night. There are still caveats. Age, cumulative wear, and modern rest culture might eventually slow the streak. He's not immune to acute injuries or wear and tear issues, and even the most durable players can find themselves getting minutes reduced late in the season. Still, his record speaks louder than hypotheticals. Coaches don't have to guess. Bridges is on the floor every game, every week. That kind of consistency isn't flashy, but it's elite. Kyle Anderson. Kiel's entire game leans into controlling tempo, and he does it in ways that mess with defenders constantly. He's 6'9" with a massive wingspan and surprisingly solid handle, which gives him the edge in ball handling without needing to outspeed anyone. He's methodical. Every move looks intentional, almost like he's narrating the game in slow motion, but he's not stalling. He's setting a rhythm that suits him. That deliberate pace is more than just a style. It's a tool. He doesn't need high usage to have influence. With a usage rate around 16%, he's not dominating possessions, which gives him the freedom to choose exactly when to inject pace or hit the brakes. He reads spacing well, uses angles, and knows how to manipulate timing. That connector role lets him slow things down when chaos is building. He's not racing into decisions. And that steadiness actually makes the offense cleaner. Defensively, opponents rely on rhythm. Kyle disrupts that rhythm. He doesn't give defenders what they expect. Instead of rushing a fast break, he might pull back, reset, and force defenders to reset too. In crunch time, that's gold. The numbers back it up. When he's on the floor, turnover rates drop, and the offense looks smoother. Kevin Love. What sets Kevin apart isn't just his rebounding, it's what he does the second he grabs the ball. Love's full court outlet passes are flat out surgical. He doesn't wait. Once he secures the board, he's already scanning. That vision turns a simple rebound into a fast break without a single dribble. He's not guessing either. He anticipates his teammate's sprint and launches the ball like he's aiming for a moving bullseye. Love's arm strength isn't just for show. These passes travel the length of the court with enough velocity to hit guys in stride, but still controlled so they aren't overshooting the mark. That balance between force and finesse, not easy. He doesn't rely on brute strength. His torso, rotation, and mechanics let him dial in the distance without wild throws. What makes it more impressive is the timing. He reads movement before it's even fully developed. He'll arc the pass just enough for a wing to adjust mid-sprint and still catch it cleanly. When his teammates are tuned in, it's a weapon, but it's not bulletproof. If the defense recovers fast or his teammates aren't sprinting, that long pass becomes a wasted chance. And if he's off balance or tired, late in games, the release can suffer. Love's outlet game thrives on timing, space, and court IQ. Without those syncing up, the whole thing falls apart. But when it works, it's instant offense. Josh Hart. When Hart grabs a rebound and takes off down the court, you better believe he's not just jogging it up to reset. His coast-to-coast plays are explosive because he skips the middleman. No outlet pass, no wasted time. He snatches the board and turns into a one-man fast break. What makes him effective starts with that non-stop motor. Hart is everywhere on the glass, and once he's got the ball, he's already shifted into gear. He's not the flashiest dribbler, but in open space, he's got more than enough control to fly up court without coughing it up. That mix of hustle, toughness, and just enough finesse is what makes these plays click. He's not timid about contact either. He'll finish through bodies, draw fouls, or find a way to angle off a defender mid-stride. And he doesn't barrel forward blindly. He reads spacing, knows when to push the tempo, and doesn't force it if the break isn't there. That decision-making is what keeps these plays from turning into turnovers. Still, It's not a free pass. If defenders recover fast or the lane's packed, it's easy for the play to get smothered. He's not going coast to coast every night either. Those chances depend on timing, floor balance, and energy. But when all those pieces line up, Hart's end-to-end runs give the team a burst of offense, straight out of the grind. Chris Paul. When Paul pulls out the rip-through, it's like watching a chess player spring a trap that's been set 5 moves earlier. He doesn't waste the move, it's calculated. He waits for the defender to flinch or reach just a little too far. Then he rips the ball across his body with precision that's almost surgical. This move works because Paul's got ridiculous hand speed and ball control. He keeps the ball tight, low, and close to his core, which makes it hard to poke free. He doesn't just rip it blindly, he reads his defender like a book. Once their stance shifts or hands drop, he exploits that opening instantly. He's not tall, but that actually helps. His low center of gravity and hip control give him the leverage to slide underneath the defender's reach and keep balance. That's why even in the mid-range or at the elbow, he can rip through and either draw contact or break the play open. But it's not unstoppable. Defenders with discipline and long arms can smother the lane or stay upright and ruin the timing. In tight spacing or against traps, Paul can run out of room and that clean rip becomes risky. He's got to stay sharp. Fatigue, that's the enemy of timing. But when it all clicks, it's a move that still bends the game his way. Trey Murphy. What stands out with Trey isn't flashy handles or wild passes. It's how quietly effective he is at avoiding turnovers. His turnover percentage sits around 8%, which is solid, considering his usage rate is nearly 24%. That means, even with the ball in his hands a fair bit, he's not coughing it up. His assist to turnover ratio lands close to 1.8, showing that when he does create, he's far more likely to make a clean play than give the ball away. He's not your main initiator, but for a wing, that efficiency matters. It's the little thing, like not over-dribbling or forcing a drive into traffic, that keep his mistakes low. He's good at reading space. He knows when to pass early, when to pull it out, and when to reset instead of charging into a wall. He doesn't go rogue often. His footwork's tight. His control is steady, and he doesn't waste motion with risky flair. It's smart basketball. Still, he's not immune. Against blitzes or tight defense, especially in transition, mistakes can creep in. And when he's asked to do more, like when primary playmakers are out, turnovers can rise. But in a steady role, Murphy stays composed. He's proof that not making a mess can be just as valuable as making a highlight. Josh Giddey. Giddey's flashy passes aren't just for show. They're stitched right into how he sees the game. He's 6'8", which means he sees over most defenders, and that height gives him access to angles others can't even attempt. He throws skip passes across the court, fires no looks through traffic, and drops wraparounds to cutters in stride, all while keeping a steady tempo. He's calm under pressure, and his ability to pass with either hand on the move gives him more options than most wings or guards. In transition, he throws look-aheads that arrive before teammates even finish their cuts. He's also comfortable threading interior seams, finding cutters when the defense overcommits. Those passes aren't wild guesses either. He reads the floor like a map, but he's not immune to forcing it. Flashy passes stretch passing lanes, and when timing slips or spacing tightens, they can backfire. A teammate not ready for the look or a quick defender, and the whole thing turns into a turnover. Giddey's not ultra quick either, so when he's pressured hard by fast defenders, his options narrow. Still, the value's clear. Those high-level passes create easy points, keep defenders guessing, and force teams to respect every shift in his eyes or shoulders. It's risk baked into rhythm, and Giddey plays it smart more often than not. Christian Braun. Brown's efficiency isn't just impressive, it's almost surgical. He's shooting nearly 58% from the field and a ridiculous 66.5% true shooting. That's not a guy chucking up easy looks all night. Those are the numbers of someone who knows exactly where and when to strike. A big part of his success is shot selection. Over 70% of his rim attempts are dropping, and most of those come from smart cuts, transition plays, or slipping behind defenses. He's not out there hunting contested pull-ups. He picks his windows, gets clean looks, and finishes strong. Playing alongside Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray gives him extra space. Defenses collapse on the stars, and Brown floats into open spots like he's got radar. When he does shoot, he's converting at high levels. Even with an increased usage rate, his scoring's jumped by over 8 points last season without losing that efficiency edge. That's not common. Still, it's not invincible. If he starts taking tougher shots or defenses begin treating him like a primary threat, the numbers could dip. He's efficient because the system fits him perfectly. But right now, he's maximizing every touch, turning clean offense into easy buckets, and doing it all without forcing. That's the kind of efficiency coaches lose sleep trying to find. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. His screen navigation stands out for one reason: he refuses to get lost. defensively, he's slippery. He's one of those guys who gets skinny around screens, meaning he twists and threads through tight gaps instead of taking the scenic route around the screener. That technique, paired with solid anticipation, lets him stick close to his man even when offensive sets are designed to shake him loose. He's not just dodging picks by accident. He takes sharp angles, uses his length to contest after contact, and recovers quickly if he does get clipped. When opponents try complex stuff like staggered screens or doubles, he can struggle a bit, but that's common. If the screen's set wide or the ball handler uses a burst, even good defenders like NAW have to work overtime. Now offensively, he's no stranger to navigating off-ball actions either. He times his cuts, slips through space, and uses hesitation to bait defenders into wrong paths before he curls off a screen. He's not a screen abuser, but he understands how to leverage them. What makes him valuable is that he doesn't die on screens. He stays active, keeps his body low, and reacts instead of just absorbing contact. It's not flashy, but it keeps him glued to plays that should lose most guards. Dennis Schroeder. When it comes to late clock or clutch situations, he's not the guy who melts the entire possession down by design, but he has shown moments where he milks the clock and makes decisive plays right before the buzzer. One standout example, that 35-footer he hit with about 56 seconds left against the Knicks. Huge shot. Another, his go-ahead layup with just over 35 seconds left versus Toronto. These aren't random heat checks. They show he's trusted in tight moments. Then there's that clip where he literally burned 24 seconds off the shot clock without triggering action. He just stood near half court, calmly holding, letting the defense sleepwalk. That's not something you do unless the coaching staff trusts you to control tempo without wasting the possession entirely. That's poise. He's also had a few plays where he takes a fadeaway or a step back as the shot clock dies, signaling that he's comfortable making something out of nothing with time pressure. What's not as clear is whether this is a staple of his game. There's no deep pile of evidence that he routinely manages the full shot clock like Chris Paul or controls tempo all fourth quarter long. Still, when you need someone to keep his head late, hold the ball, and pull a tough shot, he's got the receipts. Mitchell Robinson. If there's one thing he does better than almost anyone, it's grabbing offensive boards like they're personally owed to him. His offensive rebound percentage was around 20.7 this past season, second best in the league. That means when a shot goes up, there's a solid chance he's about to snatch it right back. He's not just throwing himself at the rim either. His rebounding is built on timing, positioning, and strength. Robinson's got a knack for reading how the ball's coming off the rim, and he's not shy about clearing out space. He boxes out with purpose, and once he locks in position, he elevates quickly and grabs with both hands. Earlier last season, he was averaging over 6 offensive boards per game through the first 8 contests. That's absurd. In just 22 minutes of playoff action, he pulled down 8 offensive rebounds. That's the kind of impact that breaks defensive schemes. His success hinges on the system too. He benefits from the Knicks' spacing and their tendency to attack from mid-range and paint where rebounds stay reachable, but he's not unstoppable. If he's up against athletic bigs or when the team shoots mostly long-range jumpers, his access to second chances shrinks. Still, when he's healthy and locked in, Robinson turns missed shots into scoring fuel. He's not just crashing the glass, he's changing possessions. Steven Adams. When Adams sets a screen, defenders don't slip by. They get stopped cold. His screens are pure punishment. He's not just big, he's immovable. He plants, braces, and lets defenders slam into him like they forgot physics. That strength gives ball handlers all the time in the world to turn the corner or rise up. But it's not just brute force. Adams adds craft to the hit. That half-step jerk forward he uses, subtle but deadly. Just as the defender commits, Adams shifts slightly and seals the angle, giving his teammate the extra step. He'll also flip the screen angle mid-action, using filter positioning to throw off defender expecting a direct pick. It's smart, not sloppy, and he does it all clean. No leaning, no arm grabs, just perfect body placement. That discipline means he rarely gets called for illegal screens, and his screen assists show up in the numbers. He's often among the league's best in that stat, and teammates score off his picks constantly. Still, he's not flawless. Against quick, switch-heavy defenses, his style loses some sting. Mobile defenders can slip his screens or switch early, but in most matchups, Adams controls space like a gatekeeper. He doesn't just free teammates, he clears entire lanes. Here's 24 different things happening in the NBA right now that I swear are exact repeats of things that happened in the last couple years. Shea vs. Jokic MVP race. This MVP showdown is turning into a sequel with the same stars. Last season, Shea came out on top, pulling in 71 first-place votes and racking up 913 points in the MVP race. Nikola Jokic finished second with 29 first-place votes and a total of 787 points. Both had monster seasons. Shea averaged 32.7 points, 6.4 assists, and 5 rebounds. Jokic countered with 29.6 points, 12.7 boards, and over 10 assists per game. Fast forward to now, and somehow the script hasn't changed. The MVP odds say it all. Shea's sitting at plus 150, while Jokic trails close behind at plus 200. Shea's averaging 32.6 points on 53% shooting, with 5.1 rebounds and 6.6 assists. That's eerily similar to last year. Meanwhile, Jokic is basically doing what he always does, putting up absurd numbers that look like video game sliders, bro. He's averaging 28.7 points, 13 rebounds, and leads the league in assists with 10.9, and he's shooting 67%, which is ridiculous. This race is heating up again, and just like last season, it looks like nobody else is really invited. Both guys are right back where they were, fighting for the top spot while barely blinking. Luka scoring title repeat. Luka's not new to leading the league in scoring, and now he's back doing it again. In the 2024 season, he averaged 33.9 points per game over 70 games. That gave him the scoring title, making him the first European-born player to ever finish a season as the NBA's scoring leader. He added 9.2 rebounds and 9.8 assists per game, and did it shooting nearly 49% from the field. Now it's 2025, and here we go again. He's currently first in points per game with 34.4. The gap between his scoring and everyone else's is real. Giannis and Shea are sitting at 32.6. Luka's efficiency is holding steady with a 49.1% field goal percentage, and he's putting up 9.4 rebounds and 9.1 assists. It's not just a volume thing either. His all-around game is keeping pace with what he did 2 seasons ago, nearly averaging a triple-double again. He also set a single-season scoring record for Dallas during that earlier run. Now, with a slightly higher scoring rate than that title season, Luka's proving that season wasn't a fluke. It happened, and it's happening again, with stats that back it up completely. Wemby's Defensive Player of the Year redemption. Last season, Wemby was running away with the Defensive Player of the Year race until his season got cut short by a blood clot diagnosis. In just 46 games, he averaged 24.3 points, 11 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and a league-best 3.8 blocks per game. That block number led the entire NBA, but because of the 65-game minimum rule, he was disqualified from the award despite being a heavy favorite, with odds at one point listed at minus 2,500. This year, the numbers are picking up right where they left off. He's averaging 3.6 blocks, 1.1 steals, and 10.9 defensive rebounds per game. His odds to win Defensive Player of the Year sit at minus 370, which translates to a nearly 79% implied chance of winning. For context, second place in the odds is Chet Holmgren at plus 1,000, a massive gap. His team's defensive efficiency rating is 107.1, which ranks among the best in the league. He's anchoring possessions, limiting second chance points, and forcing low percentage shots. Advanced defensive metrics place him in the 99th percentile of all players. That includes impact on ball, rim deterrence, and overall team defense when he's on the floor. Wemby's blend of shot blocking, mobility, rebounding, and switchability makes his case hard to ignore. It happened before, and now it's happening again. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Curry leading in threes. Again, Steph Curry's deep ball dominance is nothing new. He's led the NBA in three-pointers made 8 times, more than any other player in league history. One of his signature years was the 2015-16 season when he hit 402 threes. Still the single-season record, his name sits at the top of that leaderboard repeatedly, solidifying him as the most frequent league leader in total threes made. Now, in the 2025-26 season, the trend continued. He's leading the league in threes made per game at 4.3. In total, he's already knocked down 50 threes across 12 games, good for 4.5 per game. That keeps him just ahead of the pack in per-game production from deep. His current shooting numbers include 11.2 three-point attempts per game and a 38.1% success rate from beyond the arc. That's a slightly lower efficiency than his record-setting seasons, but the volume is still elite. His per-game stats include 27.4 points and nearly 19 field goal attempts per night. In 2024-25, he finished third in total threes, made with 311, but this year, he's back on top again in both pace and volume. Even at 37, he's still launching at a high clip and hitting enough to stay ahead of everyone else. It's the same formula that's worked 8 times before, and it's working again. James Harden is back to elite. Through 12 games this season, James Harden is scoring 26 points per game while shooting 45.5% from the field, 39.8% from 3, and 91.2% from the free throw line. That's the first time in his entire career he's combined those 3 efficiency marks in the same season. Not once has he shot that well from every level at the same time until now. His scoring average is the highest it's been since the 2021 to 2022 season. It's also a full 3-point jump from last season and nearly 10 points higher than his 2023 to 2024 output. He's playing 36.1 minutes per game, the most since his Brooklyn days, and he's back to taking 16.8 shots per game with over 9 threes per game. That's not a secondary role, that's primary option usage. And somehow, with all of that, he's averaging only 1.9 turnovers, the lowest in his career. He's also grabbing 5.8 rebounds and dishing out 6.3 assists per game. So it's not just scoring, it's impact across the board. Compared to his MVP level years in Houston, his current scoring is lower, but his efficiency is higher in every category. He's playing smarter, cleaner, and more efficient basketball. Based strictly on the numbers, this is Harden's best all-around version since his Houston peak. Westbrook, triple-double return. Russell Westbrook, now in his 18th season, is stacking triple-doubles again, this time with the Sacramento Kings. He signed a veteran minimum deal before the season and was expected to serve as a steady hand off the bench. Instead, he's logging stat lines that look like his prime. On November 6th against the Warriors, he posted 23 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 assists, his 204th career triple-double. Then 8 days later against the Timberwolves, he put up 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 14 assists. That performance also pushed him over the 10,000 career assists mark, joining a short list of players with both 25,000 points and 10,000 assists. Westbrook now holds 204 regular season triple-double. That's the most ever, and he's still adding to the count. His minutes and usage might not be what they once were, but the production is still there. In 31 minutes against Minnesota, he managed another triple-double, proving he can impact the game without needing 40 minutes. He's not leading a team like in Oklahoma City, but he's still producing elite counting stats. His role has shifted, less scoring focus, more rebounding and facilitating. Yet the triple-doubles keep coming. With Sacramento, Westbrook is showing that even in year 18, his all-around impact remains real. He's done this before, and clearly, he's doing it again right now. Kawhi Leonard injury pattern again. Kawhi Leonard's injury trend is continuing in the 2025-26 season. He's only appeared in 6 regular season games so far, averaging 24.3 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, while shooting 50.5% from the field. He played about 33.5 minutes per game in those appearances, including 37 minutes in a November 3rd matchup against Miami, where he scored 27 points. That was also the game he suffered a right ankle sprain and a significant right foot sprain. Since then, he's missed 5 straight games, and the team announced he'll be out for the next few games with no set return date. This mirrors his recent history. Last season, he missed the first 34 games because of right knee inflammation. 2 seasons before that, he missed the entire year due to an ACL tear. Since joining the Clippers, Leonard has averaged only 53 games per regular season. He's 34 now, and durability has been an ongoing issue. Even during the 2023 playoffs, he tore his right meniscus and missed the remainder of the first round. This season is already showing that pattern again. A few strong games, followed by another extended absence. As of mid-November, he's out again. And the Clippers' record without him is 3 wins and 8 losses. The same storyline that's defined his time in Los Angeles is already repeating itself. Oklahoma City Thunder dominance. The Thunder are picking up exactly where they left off. After winning 68 games in the championship last season, they've started the 2025-26 season with 13 wins and just 1 loss. That's the best record in the league and puts them first in both the Western Conference and Northwest Division. Their start included 8 straight wins out of the gate, beating teams like Houston, Indiana, Atlanta, Dallas, and the Clippers. Their only loss came on November 5th at Portland. Since then, it's been business as usual. They're unbeaten at home at 6-0, and they're 7-1 on the road. Against teams with winning records, they're 7-0, showing they're not just feasting on easy opponents. Scoring 121.6 points per game and allowing only 106.2, they've created a serious scoring mark. That gap points to efficiency on both ends of the court. Their roster is largely unchanged from last year, which explains the chemistry and consistency so early in the season. This kind of start doesn't just help their regular season standings, it keeps players like Shea firmly in the MVP conversation. It also puts pressure on every opponent trying to chase them in the standings. The Thunder look well ahead of the rest of the West again, and based on everything they've done so far, that's not just momentum, it's a repeat performance. Knicks offense, being elite under two coaches. In the 2024 to 2025 season, the New York Knicks finished with 51 wins and had one of the most efficient offenses in the league. Under Coach Thibs, they posted an offensive rating of 117.3, ranking 5th in the NBA. They averaged 115.8 points per game and leaned on a core led by Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. However, their pace remained slow, with an average first chance possession length of 14.88 seconds, which ranked 29th. Fast forward to the 2025 to 2026 season, and the offensive firepower is still there, but now under new coach Mike Brown. Through early season results, the Knicks have boosted their offensive rating to 121.6. They've also modernized their shot profile. Last season, they were near the bottom in three-point attempt rate. This year, they've jumped to the 5th highest rate in the league, with roughly 48% of their shots coming from beyond the arc. Possession speed has improved too. The average length of a first chance offensive possession is now about 14.54 seconds, moving them up to 26th. It's not lightning fast, but it's faster. The core of Brunson, Towns, Bridges, and OG remains, providing continuity. What's changed is the system. The Knicks had an elite offense before, and now they're sustaining it again through pace, spacing, and perimeter volume. Jokic averaging a triple-double again. Last season, Nikola Jokic made history by averaging 29.6 points, 12.7 rebounds, and 10.2 assists per game. That made him the third player in league history and the first center ever to average a triple-double for an entire season. Now, just 1 year later, it's happening again. Through the early part of the 2025 to 2026 season, Jokic is putting up 28.7 points, 13 rebounds, and 10.9 assists per game. That not only places him back in triple-double territory, it also leads the league in both rebounds and assists per game. That combination, leading in both categories while scoring almost 30 a night, is unmatched by anyone else right now. He's already racked up 7 triple-doubles this season, more than any other player as of mid-November. One of those came on November 8th when he posted 32 points, 14 rebounds, and 14 assists in a single game. So it's not just averages, he's consistently delivering those stat lines. With over 170 career triple-doubles already, Jokic's pace this season is adding fast to that total. His production continues to stand out, not just for volume, but for uniqueness. Once again, Jokic is producing a level of all-around dominance that mirrors the numbers only a few legends have ever touched, and he's doing it again as a center, which remains unprecedented, unexpected, most improved player candidate. Last season, Dyson Daniels shocked a lot of people by winning most improved player. He went from a bench role to averaging 14.1 points, 5.9 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and a league-leading 3 steals per game. His scoring jumped over 8 points, his rebounding and assist numbers rose, and he became a defensive force. Nobody had him circled before the season, and yet he finished on top. Now, this season, Ryan Rollins is tracking in that same direction. In 2024 to 2025, he averaged just 6.2 points in limited minutes, but now he's putting up 16.9 points per game, grabbing 3.8 rebounds, and dishing out 5.4 assists. He's also shooting an incredible 52.6% from the field and 45.7% from three. That efficiency, along with the volume increase, has him in early MIP talks. The leap is real, over 10 points more per game, with better efficiency and more minutes. His assist average ranks around 23rd in the league, and his scoring places him near the top 50. That mirrors the Daniels storyline. A player few expected to break out is doing just that. Last year, it was Daniels. This year, Rollins is walking the same path. Low expectations, high results. It happened before, and it's happening again. Cade Cunningham, still underrated. Through the first stretch of the 2025 to 2026 season, Cade Cunningham is averaging 27.5 points, 9.9 assists, and 5.4 rebounds per game. He ranks second in the entire league in assists. That follows a season where he averaged 26.1 points, 9.1 assists, and 6.1 rebounds, and earned a spot on the All-NBA third team. On top of that, the Pistons are winning. They're sitting at 11 wins and 2 losses, which puts them among the best in the league early on. He's already been named Eastern Conference Player of the Week once, thanks to a stretch where he put up 31 points and nearly 10 assists per game across 4 games. Despite all that, Cunningham is rarely included in MVP conversations or even in the top-tier guard talk. His field goal percentage this season is 43.6, which may explain some of the hesitation, but that alone doesn't cancel out near 28 and 10 production on a winning team. He's still only 23 and is leading a turnaround in Detroit with elite-level production. His numbers are right there with the best, yet the recognition doesn't match. Just like last season, he's producing at an elite level, and just like last season, he's still flying under the radar. It happened before, and it's happening again. Norman Powell's rise. In 2023 to 2024, Powell played 76 games for the Clippers, averaging 13.9 points on 48.6% shooting and 43.5% from deep. He played 26.2 minutes a game, took just over 10 shots, and made over 2 threes per night. His role was clear: efficient, low turnover scoring in limited minutes. Fast forward to 2024 to 2025, still with the Clippers, and the jump is obvious. He played 32.6 minutes a night, scored 21.8 points, and took 15.8 shots per game. Despite that leap in usage, his efficiency barely moved, shooting 48.4% from the field and 41.8% from 3. He also got to the line more and upped his playmaking, with 3.2 assists and 2.1 steals per game. Now, in 2025 to 26 with the Heat, Powell's reached another level. He's averaging 26.1 points per game, hitting 47.9% from 3, and getting to the line over 7 times per game while making 93.2% of them. His assists are up to 4.1, rebounds at 3.8, and he's averaging 2.4 steals, all career bests. Over 3 seasons, Powell has gone from efficient bench scorer to full-fledged offensive weapon, improving in every major category. The production, volume, and efficiency are all peaking, and the numbers prove it. Drew Holiday's consistent production. Since entering the league in 2009, Drew Holiday has posted the same reliable numbers everywhere he's played, from Philadelphia to New Orleans, Milwaukee, Boston, and now Portland. The pattern hasn't changed. In Portland this season, he's averaging 16.7 points per game. That fits right into his usual scoring window. He's scored between 14 and 21 points per game almost every year of his career. At 35 years old, that range is still holding. His field goal percentage is 44.6. That's nearly identical to his early years in Philadelphia and New Orleans, and just a few points shy of his Milwaukee numbers. From the three-point line, he's shooting 36.5%. Again, right in line with his career-long trend of staying between the mid-30s and low 40s. Even his assists, 3.9 per game this season, match his Boston output. Earlier in his career, that number would be closer to 7, depending on the role. But his baseline remains the same. He always contributes in playmaking. He's averaging 1.3 steals per game this year, the exact same number he had in New Orleans in 2015. His minutes, still 33 per game, and his free throw percentage is 84, right where it's been for most of his prime. No matter the team or the system, Drew always gives you the same thing: scoring, efficiency, defense, and reliability. It's happened every year, and it's still happening now. Grizzlies' injury problems again. In the 2023 to 2024 season, the Memphis Grizzlies had one of the most injury-riddled campaigns in league history. By January, 13 of their 18 players were unavailable at once. They ended up using over 50 different players and lost nearly 600 games to injury across the roster. Morant was shut down after a shoulder tear, and Marcus Smart played just 20 games all year. The lineup changed constantly. 33 different players saw the floor, and the team finished with a record of 27 wins and 55 losses. Now it's 2025 to 2026, and the pattern is already back. Morant is again sidelined, this time with right calf soreness. Brandon Clark is out for 6 to 9 weeks with a knee issue. Scottie Pippen Jr. is out until January with a toe injury, and Zach Edey had ankle surgery before the season even started. These aren't just minor setbacks. These are core and depth pieces missing early. Even before the season is halfway through, Memphis is back in injury management mode. The current rotation is full of gaps, And the consistency they've tried to build still isn't possible. The same problem that wrecked their season last year is clearly active again now. The injury storyline isn't just a one-time thing. It happened last year, and it's happening again. Clippers underperforming early. As of November 17th, the Los Angeles Clippers are sitting at 4 wins and 9 losses, ranking 11th in the Western Conference. Despite entering the season with a veteran-heavy roster and playoff expectations, they've struggled in nearly every advanced category. Their offensive rating is 114.6, placing them 21st in the league. Defensively, they're even worse, 120.8, ranked 26th out of 30 teams. Their net rating is negative 6.2, meaning they're losing by an average of 6 points per 100 possession. That's not just a few bad nights. It's a sustained underperformance. They also rank last in the NBA in pace, with only 95.6 possessions per game. That slow tempo, combined with poor offensive execution, has led to low-scoring nights, including a recent 98-79 loss to the Warriors, where their offense completely stalled. Injuries are already a factor. Bradley Beal was shut down for the season with a hip fracture after playing just 6 games. He averaged only 8.2 points and 1.7 assists before going out. A team built around experienced stars isn't producing, and the numbers back that up. With weak ratings on both ends and an offense that can't find rhythm, the Clippers have clearly fallen short of expectation. It happened last year in stretches, and now it's happening again. Julius Randle quietly dominated. Julius Randle has been producing like a star for years, but this season in Minnesota, the numbers are ridiculous without being loud. Back in New York, he was putting up over 25 points a night, but now he's doing it with fewer shots and way better efficiency. That field goal percentage has climbed every year, landing at a wild 54% right now. Even his three-point shooting, which used to dip under 32%, has jumped to almost 40%. And the free throws, he's hitting nearly 87%, which is easily his best mark in this stretch. What really stands out is the playmaking. His assist numbers have ticked up every season, and now he's dishing out over 6 a game. That's rare for a forward who's also dropping 25 points. He's even keeping his turnovers crazy low, just 1.3 per game. You almost never see that kind of efficiency and ball security from a high-usage scorer. His reboundings stayed steady too, right around 7 to 10 boards, even while sharing the front court with other bigs. It's not just solid across the board, it's elite. Randle doesn't need flashy plays to dominate. He just keeps producing, quietly and completely. Finals. Hangover. After losing a star, the Indiana Pacers are living through a brutal reality check, and it mirrors what happened to the Warriors just a few years ago. After a run to the finals, the Pacers lost Tyrese Halliburton to a torn Achilles in Game 7. It happened early in the game, and his absence immediately changed everything. Now, they've stumbled out to a 1-12 start without their engine. It's not just a slow start, it's a steep cliff. Back in 2019, the Warriors went through something eerily similar. They'd just been in the finals, then lost Steph Curry to a broken hand early the next season. That team, once the league's most dominant, went from finals runner-up to a 15-50 record. The similarities are hard to ignore. Both teams lost their core star right after a finals run. Both fell apart quickly. With Curry out and other stars gone, the Warriors had no real shot. With Halliburton sidelined, the Pacers have lost the flow, structure, and punch that got them to the finals. The rosters still have talent, but it's clear how much the star's presence shapes everything. The fall-off didn't creep in. It hit like a switch. These are 2 clear examples of how fragile success can be when the centerpiece goes down. Denny's gradual improvement. Denny has improved every single year, but this season is an entirely different level. Just 3 seasons ago, he was averaging under 10 points. Now he's at 26. That's not a gradual bump. That's a full transformation into a go-to scorer. From Washington to Portland, he's raised his scoring, playmaking, and usage without dropping efficiency. His field goal percentage is just under 49%. His three-point shooting is over 37%, and he's now hitting nearly 87% from the line. That last stat is massive. His free throw jump shows real shooting development and confidence under pressure. And the volume? He's up to 17 shots per game, nearly 7 threes, and almost 8 free throws. All career highs. That's how you know the leap is real. He's not just scoring more, he's creating more, drawing contact, and still playing within the flow. Even his assists are climbing. At 4.8 per game, he's now a true secondary creator, not just a finisher. What's wild is that his rebounding hasn't dropped off despite the offensive load. He's still pulling down over 6 boards a night. Every season, he's added something. And in 2025, it all came together. Scoring, playmaking, shooting, and leadership, all up at once. Denny's gone from role player to centerpiece, and there's no sign of it slowing down. Heat role players being elite. This isn't new for Miami. Back in 2023, Gabe Vincent went from averaging around 7 points a night to dropping 29 in a key playoff win. Caleb Martin followed that blueprint, delivering 10 points, 4 rebounds, and postseason defense that helped fuel a finals run. Duncan Robinson was once among the fastest ever to hit 800 threes, and did it while being a playoff factor, not just a stat guy. Now in 2025, the next wave is in full swing. Jaquez Jr. is averaging 17.5 points, 7 rebounds, and over 5 assists. That's not just solid, that's near all-star level. From a role guy, he's shooting over 53% and posting full box scores every night. Simone Fontecchio has carved out his own lane too. 11 points a night, 50% from the field, and enough quick burst offense to flip games in a single shift. He scored 11 in 17 minutes against the Clippers and made it look casual. Then there's Pelle Larsson. He's just under 10 points per game, shooting nearly 55% and throwing in solid passing and rebound. In one outing against the Lakers, he had 17 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists. Every year, Miami turns unknowns into contributors. This year, they've turned contributors into weapons. That's why Heat role players keep ending up in big moments, because they play like they belong there. Wizards still not figuring it out. The Washington Wizards are off to another rough start, and if this feels familiar, that's because it is. They're sitting at 1 win and 12 losses, already dead last in the Eastern Conference. That's not a slump. That's just who they've been. They're giving up nearly 130 points per game while only scoring about 113. That's a massive gap, and it shows up in the loss column every single night. Their field goal percentage is stuck at 45.8, with 3-point shooting even worse at 33.3%. That's bottom tier efficiency in today's league. Last year, 18 wins. The year before, 15. And now they've opened the new season with 1 win in 13 games. So no, this isn't new. And no, it's not trending better. Even with new additions and fresh draft picks, they're not getting results where it counts. Wins, defense, or shot making. The average margin they're losing by? Nearly 17 points. That's not just losing, that's getting handled. You can talk about young talent or potential all you want, but at some point, the numbers tell the story. This season isn't a bounce back, it's another repeat performance. The Wizards are stuck in the same gear, and right now, that gear is reversed. For a team that's trying to rebuild, it feels more like they're just reliving the same problems. An unexpected surprise team. Last year, the Pistons stunned everyone. They went from just 14 wins to 44, launching themselves into playoff relevance. That massive turnaround made them the league's surprise team. This year, that unexpected glow is shifting north to Toronto. The Raptors are off to an 8-5 start, better than most projections had them. Early in the season, they've already stacked wins and shown they're not just waiting for the future. They're winning now. They've taken 7 of their first 13 games, holding 3rd in their division and currently sitting 7th in the Eastern Conference. That might not sound wild until you remember many expected a slow rebuild or transition year. Instead, they're already over 500 and building something solid. It's not flashy, but it's effective. This is exactly the kind of early momentum that can turn into a playoff push. Detroit showed last year how fast a team can go from forgotten to feared. Toronto's trying to write a similar script, just with less noise. They've slipped into the surprise team conversation by outperforming expectations without making dramatic changes. That's what makes it interesting. Nobody saw them coming, but the wins are stacking anyway. If the trend continues, the Raptors might be the team everyone looks back on and says, yeah, we missed that one. Grizzlies, keep finding rookie gems. Last year, Jalen Wells came out of nowhere. Drafted 39th overall, he ended up starting 74 games and averaging over 10 points as a rookie. His shooting splits, just over 42% from the field, 35 from deep, and over 82 at the line, were solid. But it was the consistency and two-way impact that got him 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. Not bad for a second-round pick. Now fast forward to this season, and Cedric Coward is picking up the rookie surprise torch. He wasn't undrafted or anything. The Grizzlies got him via trade after he was picked 11th, but no one expected this level of polish out of the gate. In his first 5 games, he averaged 16 points, almost 4 boards, and 2 assists, while shooting a ridiculous 65% from the field. His true shooting percentage? Over 81%. That's absurd efficiency, especially for a wing still adjusting to the league. In a game against Indiana, he dropped 27 points in 24 minutes, making all 6 of his threes and adding rebounds and assists. For Memphis, this is becoming a theme. One year, it's a second-round pick starting by week 2. The next, it's a rookie forward who's breaking the efficiency chart. No flash, no hype machine, just production. The Grizzlies keep finding guys who weren't projected stars but play like they missed the memo. Kings stuck without a plan. The Sacramento Kings are looking more confused than competitive right now. They came into the season with a roster built around veterans like Levine, DeMar, and Sabonis. Names that usually mean win now, but they're sitting at 3 wins and 11 losses, 13th in the West and far from contending. Analysts are calling them split between timeline, with no defensive identity and no clear blueprint. It's not just sloppy play, it's structural confusion. You've got talented younger guys like Keegan Murray, but they're stuck behind a veteran-heavy core that isn't producing wins. The front office isn't helping the situation either. They've sent out mixed messages, trade rumors swirling, one week, then a statement saying they're not moving any veterans the next. So what's the goal? Because right now, it's not development, and it's definitely not winning. Power rankings have them down near 22nd, and it's easy to see why. You can't build for the future while giving all the minutes to guys who aren't part of it. You can't expect playoff output from a team that doesn't defend or click. Right now, the Kings are a case study in what happens when you try to ride 2 lanes at once and end up stalled in both. It's not just bad basketball. It's Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers' superpower this season is that they're the only team in the NBA with 2 players inside the top 10 in scoring. Luka leads the entire league with 35.0 points per game, and Austin Reeves lands at number 8 with 28.4. No other team appears twice on that leaderboard. That kind of dual firepower forces every defense into panic mode. Luka's a volume shooter, pulling nearly 23 shots every night, while Reeves thrives on efficiency, making over half his attempts. Luka launches almost 11 threes and draws more than 12 free throws, and Reeves keeps pace by drawing nearly 10 himself. That's over 21 free throws combined. You're basically spotting the Lakers 20 free points every game, and it's not just scoring. Luka adds over 9 assists. Reeves chips in nearly 7. That's nearly 16 assists between them. They also rebound like wings, grabbing almost 15 boards per night. So you've got 2 players putting up over 63 points, creating spacing, drawing fouls, sharing the ball, and ending possession. No other team in the league has anything close to this level of all-around output from a scoring duo. It's a massive advantage. Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves' superpower this season is their elite scoring balance across almost every meaningful category. They're 6th in points per game, putting up 119.6 each night, right alongside teams like Denver and Oklahoma City that are having ridiculous scoring years. But Minnesota isn't riding one hot streak. Their offense holds up every night. They're making over 42 shots per game on 87 attempts, hitting nearly 49%. That's top 8 accuracy with top-tier volume, and it comes without needing to push the tempo constantly. They also knock down 14.3 threes per game, which ranks 7th in the league. And here's the kicker. They hit those threes at 38.3%, the 4th best mark in the NBA. That combo of top 7 volume and top 4 accuracy from deep gives them one of the most efficient shooting profiles in the league. They're not just scoring big, they're scoring smart. No single action carries their offense. They spread the floor, hit shots from everywhere, and don't need to rely on one player or one strategy. That mix of volume, precision, and consistency is what makes their scoring a true hidden superpower. New York Knicks. The Knicks' hidden superpower this season is having the best offensive rebounder in the entire league. Mitchell Robinson is an absolute monster on the glass, and the numbers prove it every time he's on the floor. He leads the entire NBA in offensive rebound percentage at 29.9%, and no one else is even close. That means nearly 1 out of every 3 missed shots turns into a second chance when he's nearby. He also ranks first in total rebound percentage at 25.1%, showing that he dominates both ends, not just offense. Per 100 possessions, Robinson leads the league in offensive rebounds and total rebounds, which means his impact scales no matter the tempo or pace of the game. When he's in the game, the Knicks are plus 17.59, a wild number for a player whose role isn't even built around scoring. He changes possessions, drags in extra points, and keeps defenses constantly scrambling. His rebounding gives New York one of the most reliable sources of second chances in basketball. That's not just helpful, that's game shifting. And it's their hidden superpower this season. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder's hidden superpower this season is the best net rating in the entire league, sitting at plus 15.9, which blows every other team away. That kind of margin means they're not just winning, they're dominating both ends of the floor. The next closest team, Houston, trails by 5 full points, which is the same kind of gap you usually see between contenders and bottom-tier teams. That's how far ahead Oklahoma City is. Shea fuels it all with a wild stat line, 68.6 true shooting, over 33% usage, and assist rates, and elite steal and block percentages. He's doing everything without turning the ball over. His plus 13.5 box, plus minus, shows how directly he drives wins, and then Chet steps in as a second anchor with over 66% true shooting, 5% block rate, and dominant rebounding. The rest of the rotation is stacked with efficient, disruptive players. There's not a single weak link. They move the ball, take smart shots, force turnovers, and play clean. That's why their team-wide net rating stands above everyone else. It's balanced, relentless, and nearly impossible to counter. Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks' hidden superpower this season is having the best passing rookie in the league, Ryan Nembhard. No one else from his class is even close. He leads all rookies in assists per game at 4.8. And what makes it wild is he's doing it in just 18.5 minutes per game. The others on that list are playing 20 to 35 minutes and still falling short. That's a different level of playmaking density. He's not just passing more, he's doing it faster, cleaner, and smarter. In December alone, he's put up games with 13 assists, 10 assists, 7 assists, all while shooting nearly 70% and barely turning the ball over. One of those games? 13 assists with 0 turnovers and 0 free throws. That's pure half-court orchestration. He's averaging over 8 assists with just 1 turnover across those 4 games, which gives him an 8.5 to 1 ratio. That's elite for anyone, let alone a rookie. And he's only taking 6.7 shots a game. He doesn't need the ball to dominate. He just organizes everything, keeps it moving, and makes the Mavericks way more stable than people realize. Boston Celtics. The Celtics' hidden superpower this season is their league-leading pull-up scoring attack. They're averaging 32 pull-up points per game, the most in the NBA, and no one else is even close. Phoenix is nearly 4 full points behind. That's a huge margin for a single scoring type. What makes Boston dangerous isn't just one star carrying the load. It's that they've got multiple guys who can all hit pull-ups efficiently. Jaylen Brown leads the charge with 11 pull-up points a game, scoring well off drives and catch and shoots too. His balance across all 3 makes defenders guess every trip down the floor. Derek White adds over 8 pull-up points himself, giving Boston a second shot creator who doesn't need plays drawn up for him. Off the bench, Peyton Pritchard chips in over 6, while finishing drives at 60%. That forces defenders to sag, opening up clean pull-up space. Anfernee Simons adds 5 more, hitting both drives and catching shoots at high rates. Even Sam Hauser boosts the whole system with spacing and smart cuts. Put it all together, and Boston's offense becomes unstoppable in late clocks, tight matchups, and playoff pressure. They just create from nothing, over and over again. Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies' hidden superpower this season is Zach Edey's massive Year 2 leap. He's gone from a raw rookie to a legit interior force in under 26 minutes a game. His scoring jumped from 9.2 to 13.6 points, while his field goal percentage climbed to 63.3, and that's while taking more shots, not fewer, almost 9 per game now. That kind of volume plus efficiency combo is rare. His rebounding, that's the biggest leap. He's pulling down 11.1 boards, including 7.2 defensive rebounds per game. For his minutes, that's elite starting center output. He also boosted his blocks from 1.3 to 1.9, and that's without a major increase in minutes. He's becoming a full-on paint ink. Even at the line, he's getting better, up to 78.1% on almost 3 attempts. And he's doing all this while keeping mistakes down. More touches, more scoring, more defense, and no huge drop in control. That's why this leap matters. Memphis now has a young center who protects the rim, finishes inside, and rebounds like a monster, all in under 26 minutes a night. Miami Heat. The Heat's hidden superpower this season is their league best drive scoring. They lead the entire NBA with 33.7 points per game off drives, and what sets them apart is how many different players contribute. This isn't a one-man show. Tyler Hero leads the way with 10 drive points a game while hitting almost 74% of those shots. That kind of efficiency forces defenses to collapse immediately. Norman Powell adds 7.8 more, finishing over 51%. He brings vertical pressure and strength, making him the perfect secondary weapon. Jaquez chips in 7 more through footwork and angles. His mid-range craft makes him hard to time, and he keeps that production steady. Then there's Davion Mitchell, who somehow scores 5.5 on drives while hitting over 61%. That's wild for a fourth option. Even Bam adds 5.2 as a center, forcing bigs to defend in space. Wiggins and Larson round it out, giving Miami true downhill depth. No other team in the league gets this much volume and efficiency from this many players, and that's why Miami's drive game is the most dangerous in basketball. Golden State Warriors. The Warriors' hidden superpower this season is leading the entire NBA in made threes, 398 total, more than any other team. They're 11 threes ahead of Milwaukee, 15 ahead of Boston, and 44 ahead of New York. That kind of gap this early shows it's not just a hot streak, it's a system built on shooting depth. Steph Curry sets the pace with 75 made threes in just 16 games, hitting 47.1%. But here's the twist. He's not carrying the load alone. Moses Moody adds 56 on over 40% shooting. In pods, chips in 49 more at 44.1%. That's 3 high-volume shooters right there. Off the bench, Buddy Hield has 36 threes while barely starting, and Quentin Post has 35. Even Draymond Green, Will Richard, Jimmy Butler, and Al Horford are contributing from deep. 11 different players have at least 12 threes. That's unheard of. Most teams have maybe 5 threats from outside. The Warriors have a whole roster. That's why defenses can't keep up. Every lineup has spacing, shooting, and pressure from the arc, and that's their true superpower. Nobody shoots it better or deeper. Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets' hidden superpower this season is having the NBA's top-scoring rookie, Khan Anunoby. He leads all rookies with 18 points per game, which puts him ahead of big names like Cooper Flagg and Jeremiah Fears. That kind of production as a first-year player is rare, especially when it comes with real efficiency. He's playing 33.5 minutes a night, which shows serious trust from the coaching staff. Most rookies get spot minutes. Nuppel is out there as a featured piece every game. He's hitting 6.3 shots on 13.7 attempts, shooting 45.9% overall. For a high-volume rookie wing, that's impressive. It's not just scoring. He's handing out 3.3 assists per game, meaning he can create, not just finish. Add in 5.5 rebounds, and he's clearly got the physical presence to play in any lineup. This isn't just a nice rookie campaign, it's a full-on offensive role filled by someone barely out of college. That's what gives Charlotte an edge. While most teams are still waiting on their young guys, the Hornets already have a rookie carrying real offensive weight. New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans' hidden superpower this season is weird. They lead the NBA in percentage of points scored in the paint. 49.3% of their offense comes from inside, the highest rate in the league. They're the only team above 49, and it's not a gimmick, it's their identity. Zion Williamson leads the charge with over 13 paint points per game through drives and touches alone. No jumpers, just relentless rim pressure. But Zion's not carrying this by himself. Derek Queen adds more than 8 paint points per game and finishes nearly 69% of his touches. That's elite for any position. Yves Missy brings in more efficient finishing, and Trey Murphy quietly finishes over 81% of his paint looks, which is wild for a wing. Even the bigs off the bench, like Looney and Karlo Matkovic, bring scoring inside. Both finish well above 60%. Put it all together, and no team has this many players consistently producing inside the lane. They don't rely on one star or one action. The whole roster scores inside, efficiently, often, and through multiple roles. That's why the Pelicans own the paint every single night. Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets' hidden superpower this season is simple. They lead the entire NBA in scoring with 125 points per game. No other team has cracked that number. And it's not because of one player going off. This is a fully layered offense with weapons everywhere. Nikola Jokic leads the charge with 29.2 points in 35 minutes, controlling every possession and giving them the league's most stable offensive engine. Jamal Murray backs him up with 25 points a game. That's a second star producing like a first option. Then Aaron Gordon throws in 18.8 more without even needing high usage. His cutting, finishing, and off-ball movement make everything smoother. Off the bench, Tim Hardaway gives them 12 points per game with elite floor spacing. Christian Brown and Cameron Johnson both average over 11, and Peyton Watson adds 10.3. That means Denver has 7 different players in double digits. Most teams are lucky to have 2 scorers who can carry a load. Denver has a full rotation that can score from anywhere. That's why they're number 1 in the league. Every lineup they put out is dangerous. Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks' hidden superpower this season is their league best 3-point shooting. They're hitting 40.9% from deep, the only team above 40. That's not just hot shooting, that's built-in, rotation-wide efficiency. Kevin Porter is leading the way with an insane 61.8% on 5.7 attempts. He's dragging the league average upward by himself, but it doesn't stop there. AJ Green hits nearly 49% on almost 7 attempts. Bobby Portis, their stretch big, knocks down nearly 45%, which completely changes how defenses have to cover the paint. Even Giannis is shooting 43.5%. Yeah, Giannis. That means defenders can't sag off him anymore, which opens everything else up. Pete Nance, Mark Sears, Taurean Prince, Miles Turner, Ryan Rollins, all of them are hovering near or over 40%. The bench, still clean. Gary Harris and Gary Trent are both above league average. There's no lineup, no rotation, no substitution pattern where the Bucks put a bad shooter on the floor. That's why they're number 1 in percentage. Every player shoots. Every defender has to stay honest. And every shot looks like a good one. Utah Jazz. The Jazz's hidden superpower this season is Keontae, Georgia's massive year 3 leap. He's gone from a promising young scorer to a full-on offensive engine. His scoring jumped from 13 in year 1 to over 22 this season. And it's not empty volume. He's taking 16 shots a game and hitting 43.6%, up from 39.1 his rookie year. Most guards drop in efficiency when their usage spikes. George, he's getting better. The biggest leap? Free throws. He's gone from 2.5 makes a game to 6.2 while shooting over 90%. That means he's getting downhill, creating contact and controlling possessions like a true star. His assists are up too, now at 6.7 a game. That's nearly 7 assists from a guy scoring 22. That's not a scoring guard, that's a dual threat creator. His minutes keep climbing too, now over 33 per game, showing the Jazz fully trust him to run the show. Add in rebounds, steals, and consistent three-point volume, and the picture's clear. Utah doesn't just have a young talent anymore, they've got a franchise-level guard developing fast. That's their real superpower this season. Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers' hidden superpower this season is their league-leading free throw shooting. They're hitting 83.6% from the line, the best mark in the entire NBA. And it's not carried by one guy, it's the entire roster. Kawhi Leonard shoots an insane 97.2% on over 5 attempts per game. That's basically automatic. Then there's Jordan Miller and Kobe Sanders, both above 91%, giving them elite backcourt stability. Most teams don't even have one 90% shooter. The Clippers have 3. James Harden adds the volume. He's making 7.8 free throws a night while hitting almost 90%. That combination of volume and accuracy is rare, and it powers their entire offense. Even the role players stay efficient. Nicholas Batum, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Kobe Brown are all above 83%, and the rest, everyone from John Collins to Ivica Zubac, is in the low 70s. No liabilities. No one pulling the numbers down. Every lineup they use shoots well. That's why they're at the top. In close games, in late clocks, under pressure, the Clippers get to the line, and they cash in better than anyone else. Detroit Pistons. The Pistons' hidden superpower this season is their league best shot blocking. They lead the NBA with 145 total blocks, ahead of Dallas and Cleveland by just enough to show how every single swap mattered. But this isn't about one big man camping in the paint, it's a full system. Isaiah Stewart leads the team with 42 blocks in 21 games, averaging 2 per night from the forward spot. That's elite weak side rim protection. Jalen Duren adds 20 more as the true center, giving Detroit a dual anchor look most teams just don't have. Then there's Thompson with 13 blocks from the wing. Not normal for a perimeter defender. He blocks shots like a big, turning every drive into a challenge before it even reaches the paint. Cade Cunningham has 17 blocks himself, more than most guards in the league. Javonte Green and Paul Reed rounded out with 10 and 13, showing that the second unit protects the rim just as well. 6 players already in double digits, and 5 of them on pace for 30 or more. That's not just defense. That's a shot blocking wall teams can't get through. Washington Wizards. The Wizards' hidden superpower this season is Alex Sarr's rim defense, one of the most underrated bright spots on an otherwise shaky squad. The numbers show it clearly. Sarr ranks in the 91st percentile in rim defense and the 96th percentile in rim frequency. That means opponents are constantly attacking the paint when he's out there, and he's meeting them at the rim with real impact. He's not just contesting, he's deterring. His block percentage sits at 5.1, ranking in the 94th percentile. That's elite rim protection, especially for a young big still finding his NBA rhythm. Even with average deflections, and defensive rebounding rates, his interior presence shifts the geometry of the game. Sarr's versatility rating is low, just 13th percentile, but that just means he's focused. He's not trying to do too much, he's anchoring. His defensive plus-minus isn't eye-popping, but rim protection like his rarely shows up in all-in-one metrics early on. The real value is in the frequency and the denial. He's not everywhere on defense. He's exactly where the other team wants to go, and that's where he shuts the door. Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers' hidden superpower this season is their league-leading blocks per game, 6.1, the highest in the NBA. And it's not from one star swatting everything. It's a full defensive system built across positions. Rookie Adam Bona leads the way with 1.5 blocks in just 16 minutes a game. That's one block every 10 minutes, easily one of the best rates in the league. Joel Embiid, even in limited minutes, still adds 1.3 blocks with his usual rim presence, forcing teams to avoid the paint altogether. Then there's Dominic Barlow, who gives them 1.1 blocks as a forward. That's rare weak side production most teams don't get from non-bigs. Tyrese Maxey is doing something almost unheard of, nearly 1 block per game as a guard, showing real disruption on the perimeter. Andre Drummond adds another 0.9 blocks off the bench, making sure there's always a center protecting the rim. And Kelly Oubre adds 0.8 from the wing spot with length and timing that stretches the defense. No matter the lineup, someone is protecting the basket. That's why Philadelphia leads the league in blocks. Every position contributes. Orlando Magic. The Magic's hidden superpower this season is their balance. They have a different player leading the team in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. That's not common. Franz Wagner leads the team in scoring with 22.7 points per game. He's the go-to option offensively, but he doesn't have to do everything else. Wendell Carter leads in rebounding with 7.6 per game, locking down the glass and giving them a steady presence inside. Jalen Suggs leads in assists at 4.7, showing they don't need a traditional point guard to run the show. He keeps the offense moving by committee, and Goga handles rim protection with 1.3 blocks, giving them interior defense without asking their scorers to play cleanup. 4 different roles, 4 different leaders. That means no single player is overloaded, and no single strength can be taken away by opponents. Each guy gets to focus on what they do best. That kind of structure is rare in the league. Most teams lean on one star. The Magic let everyone handle their lane, and that's what makes them tough to scheme against. It's a quiet superpower built on balance. Phoenix Suns. The Suns' hidden superpower this season is their league-leading steals per game, 10.8, the most in the NBA. And it's not just one guy going for highlight strips. This is a team-wide swarm. Grayson Allen leads the charge with 1.6 steals per game, using sharp instincts and passing lane pressure to kick things off. Dillon Brooks adds 1.5 with physical on-ball defense that forces bad decisions. Off the bench, Jordan Goodwin keeps the pressure up with 1.4 steals in just 20 minutes. That's an elite per-minute rate. Rookie Ryan Dunn chips in 1.4 more with length and anticipation, giving Phoenix disruptive wing defense in every rotation. Even at center, Mark Williams adds 1.4 steals, extremely rare for his position, turning paint traffic into chaos. Veteran Royce O'Neal brings 1.3, using smart positioning and timing, while Colin Gillespie adds another 1.1, and even Devin Booker gets in on it, nearly averaging a steal himself. That's pressure at every level, in every lineup. No weak spots, no drop-off. The Suns don't just defend, they take the ball, and they do it better than anyone. Chicago Bulls. The Bulls' hidden superpower this season is their league best catch-and-shoot scoring, 38.6 points per game, the highest in the NBA. That puts them just ahead of Golden State and Milwaukee, and it's not even close after that. What makes Chicago dangerous is that they're not relying on one hot hand. It's a whole team effort. Vooch leads the way with 7.4 catch-and-shoot points, hitting 43%. That's rare front court volume, and it pulls bigs away from the rim. Ayo adds 5.5 on 47.4% shooting. That's elite wing spacing. Kobe White drops in 5.3 while hitting almost 45%. Jalen Smith gives them nearly 5 more from the big spot. Josh Giddey chips in 4.3 at 43%. And even Modest adds 4 more, despite lower accuracy. Off the bench, Kevin Huerter, Isaac Okoro, Jevon Carter, and Patrick Williams all average over 3. That's 10 different players contributing at real volume. Most teams have 3 catch-and-shoot guys. Chicago has an army. It's constant pressure. No weak spots. No safe rotation. Every defender has to stay locked in, or it's 3 more points. Toronto Raptors. The Raptors' hidden superpower this season is their league-best fast break scoring, 20.4 points per game, the highest in the NBA. And that pace is driven by Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickley, who combined for over half of that total. Barnes puts up 5.2 fast break points per game, shooting nearly 65% from the field and almost 70 in effective field goal percentage. He's a downhill force, drawing contact, finishing through it, and forcing defenders to collapse early. He's not just fast, he's relentless. On the other side, Quickley adds 5 more transition points, but his game is built on control. He pushes the pace without turning it over, with a transition turnover rate under 10%. His effective field goal percentage sits at 55.6. And he's the cleanup man when Barnes breaks the defense. Quickley extends broken plays, creates angles, and keeps the break going. Together, they're a perfect balance of pressure and poise. And that's why Toronto leads the league. With Barnes as the engine and Quickley as the finisher, the Raptors don't just run, they turn every open court touch into real points. Houston Rockets. The Rockets' hidden superpower this season is their league best rebounding, 48.8 per game, the most in the NBA. And it's not because of one dominant big. It's a full team rebounding unit stacked across every position. Steven Adams leads the charge with 9.2 boards in just 21 minutes, including nearly 5 offensive. That's elite production on limited minutes. Alperen Sengun adds 9.1 of his own, giving Houston 2 centers, pulling down starter-level boards. Then there's Amen Thompson, a guard, grabbing 7 rebounds a night. That's wild. Jabari Smith adds 6.4 more, cleaning up behind the bigs. Off the bench, Tari Eason brings energy and 5.2 boards of his own. Even Clint Capella and Kevin Durant chip in almost 5 each in short stints. There's no weak link. No rotation group gets outworked on the glass. The guards rebound like wings. The wings rebound like bigs. And the bigs, they just bully people. That's why Houston leads the league. Every lineup fights for boards, wins possessions, and tilts the game by controlling the glass from tip to buzzer. San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs' hidden superpower this season is their ability to win without Wemby on the floor, something nobody expected. They've gone 8-3 in games without him, a better record than when he plays. With Wemby active, the Spurs are 8-4, still solid, but not better. And that's with him averaging 26.2 points, 12.9 rebounds, and 4 assists in those 12 games. So it's not like he's been underperforming. The surprising part is that San Antonio keeps finding ways to win, even when their franchise cornerstone is out. That kind of roster resilience is rare for a team in the middle of a rebuild. It means their supporting cast is stepping up, their depth is producing real value, and the system doesn't completely collapse without the star. Winning 8 of 11 without a player putting up those kinds of numbers is no fluke. It's structure. It shows that the Spurs are building something sustainable. They don't just rely on Wemby to carry them every night. And that kind of internal stability, it's their real superpower. Indiana Pacers. The Pacers' hidden superpower this season is having the NBA's #1 shot blocker, Jay Huff, who's averaging 2.5 blocks per game. That's not just good, it's the top mark in the entire league. No one else even hits that number. The next closest guys are at 2. Huff stands alone. That kind of rim protection isn't just a stat, it changes everything. Indiana doesn't have to patch together paint defense with 3 or 4 guys. They've got one anchor who does it all. Huff gives them consistent vertical defense, shot disruption, and rim deterrence, all by himself. That lets guards play up, wings stay tight, and the entire defense rotate with confidence. Teams hesitate to drive. Shots get altered before they even go up. It's a defensive identity built around a single elite skill, and the Pacers are leaning into it. Other teams try to defend the rim by committee. Indiana just puts Jay Huff in the paint and tells everyone else to cover ground. He leads the league in blocks for a reason, and that gives Indiana a true edge every single night. Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers' superpower this season is their unmatched total scoring depth. They've scored more points than any other team in the league, and it's not because they're sprinting up and down the floor nonstop. It's because they've got a lineup where nearly everyone contributes, and nobody's dragging down the efficiency. Donovan Mitchell's leading the charge with over 700 points, and he's doing it with smart, high-volume shooting. That's exactly the kind of thing that pushes totals up fast. Evan Mobley keeps things steady with over 450 points, and he's not forcing anything. He just picks his spots and hits them. DeAndre Hunter's quietly added more than 300 points, and Jalen Tyson, that guy's lighting it up from deep, shooting nearly 47% from long range. Even the bench is in on it. Sam Merrill's threes are a straight-up bonus boost, and Jared Allen's just cleaning up inside. Garland and Wade chip in with over 100 points each, keeping the scoreboard ticking, no matter who's on the floor. This team doesn't need one player to drop 40. They just keep coming at you from every angle, piling on efficient points from every position. Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks' superpower this season is passing, plain and simple. They're leading the entire league in assists per game. They're the only team averaging over 30, sitting at 30.8, while every other team is stuck below that line. But the craziest part, it's not just because of one guy. Jalen Johnson, at forward, is averaging almost 8 assists while grabbing over 10 boards and scoring more than 23 points. That's wild for his position. Trae Young's only played 5 games, but he's still averaging 7.8 assists. And even in limited action, his pace changes everything. Dyson Daniels keeps it rolling off the bench with nearly 6 assists, making sure the offense doesn't stall out. Then there's Alexander Walker with over 3 assists, just quietly setting people up and keeping the ball flying. And it doesn't stop there. Kristaps and Onyeka are both over 3 assists as bigs. That's just not normal. Atlanta's got smart passers everywhere. No one has to dominate the ball because everyone's creating. They're not just moving it. They're sharing the playmaking across all 5 spots, and it's turning into the best assist numbers in the league. Sacramento Kings. The Kings' superpower this season is mid-range scoring, and nobody's doing it more than they are. 11% of their total points come from the mid-range, the highest mark in the league. That's not a fluke. It's built into the roster. DeMar leads the way, with nearly 30% of his points coming from mid-range alone. That's basically unheard of these days. He's taking over 84% of his shots inside the arc, constantly creating those mid-range looks. Dennis Schroeder keeps it going with 15% of his points from mid-range. His shot selection leans toward floaters and pull-ups, which feeds right into the Kings' mid-range identity. Zach LaVine brings in more with 11% of his scoring from that range, and Monk chips in too, hovering just under 10%. Even Westbrook adds over 7%, living in that classic elbow area. Keegan Murray sneaks in with a similar share. And Sabonis? He's not a mid-range scorer himself, but he sets everyone up with those elbow touches and short roll passes. No other team has this many players consistently operating in the mid-range. Sacramento's offense lives there, and that's exactly why they lead the league in it. Brooklyn Nets. The Nets' superpower this season is that they've got 4 actual rookies playing real minutes. Not garbage time, not mop-up duty, but actual rotation spots. Igor Demons leading the group with 21 games, 14 starts, and over 23 minutes per night. He's putting up 8 points, 3 boards, and nearly 4 assists. That's a full-on rotation guard right out the gate. Drake Powell's playing almost 20 minutes per game across 16 appearances, adding 6 points and a couple assists. Ben Saraf's already started 5 games, logging nearly 17 minutes a night and scoring over 5. That's not normal for a first-year player. Then there's Danny Wolf, who's showing up in the front court with nearly 8 points and 4 rebounds in just 15 minutes a game. That's 4 rookies, all with double-digit minutes, all contributing in different ways. Guards, wings, bigs. The Nets are getting 20-plus points every night from guys fresh out of college. Most teams barely trust one rookie. Brooklyn's running a live development lab during real NBA games, and it's working. This isn't a rebuild. It's a rotation full of rookies holding their own and helping the team compete right now. Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers' superpower this season is that they've got the most improved player frontrunner, and it's Denny by a mile. His scoring has taken off, jumping from 14 to nearly 26 points per game over 2 seasons. That's a leap voters love. What really makes it wild is he's doing it without tanking his efficiency. His field goal percentage stayed close to 48, even with his shot attempts shooting up from 9 to 16 a night. That's rare. And it's not just scoring. His assists have doubled, sitting at 6.3 per game. That turns him from a solid role guy into a real offensive engine. On top of that, he's kept over 7 rebounds per game, which shows he's still crashing the glass even while carrying a huge scoring load. He's drawing way more fouls now, going from barely getting to the line to nearly 10 free throws a game. That's the kind of thing only stars do. Add in consistent defense with blocks ticking up and steals holding steady, and the case is clear. Portland gave him a bigger role, more minutes, and now he looks like a completely different player. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.